Chapter 1426. Where there's a will, there's a way. Qi Jui curled his lips. That old villain Ao Feng also had the same idea. That's why he left Ao Jiao beside Senior Grand Primordium. Flirting and flirting. Ao Feng, you old bastard, is really shameless. Father, this is the pot calling the kettle black, right? Qi Liqui was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. Regardless, you have to think of a way to stay by Kong Teichu's side. Qi Jui blushed as he laughed awkwardly. Then he said seriously, don't laugh and take it to heart. Senior Grand Primordium is a cultivation genius that's hard to come by in 10,000 years. If you follow him, even if you become a maidservant, it will be a great blessing. Father, you originally believed that the Ruins Emperor was invincible. However, this Kong Teichu is clearly bent on fighting the Ruins Emperor to the death. Aren't you afraid of inviting trouble when the time comes? Asked Qi Liqui. The Ruins Emperor is very strong. However, Kong Teichu's improvement is too fast. I heard that he only used less than 10 days to reach the first level of the Golden Core realm in the Scarlet Field world. What? Qi Liqui was alarmed. The Golden Core realm was just too difficult to break through. Many people would only cross a small level after decades or centuries. More than 10 days was unimaginable. At this speed, he will probably reach the nascent soul realm in a few years. He doesn't cultivate in an ordinary cultivation technique. Now he can fight more than 20 nascent soul cultivators alone. When he truly reaches the nascent soul realm, Qi Jui wore a shocked expression as his deep eyes looked at the dark sky. Divine radiance shot out as though he could see through the thick fog to see a vast and majestic world. This rigid and decaying world filled with slavery and injustice will definitely be turned upside down by him. Today, I'll finally complete the second revolution of the divine disc. I'll elevate the Taotai origin returning divine body to its limits and push it to perfection. It's a flawless realm. In an empty chamber in the Crystal Palace, Jiang Tian sat cross-legged as he took out the immortal divine herb. Senior, spare me. The herb had gained sentience, but it no longer had its original arrogance. Instead, it kowtowed and pleaded softly as tears rolled down its cheeks. Those tears were actually medicinal liquid. It was crystal clear and exuded a refreshing fragrance. It contained an endless amount of spiritual energy. One drop was enough to create a golden core. Jiang Tian ignored him. This guy was very ferocious. Previously, he had even said that he would chop Jiang Tian into 8 pieces. Rumble. Jiang Tian took out the time array disc first, and the ancient and boundless array disc flew above the palace. Rays of auspicious light rained down, enveloping the palace and Jiang Tian. Immediately, the surrounding vegetation grew crazily, and the vines coiled like dragons in the sky. The small tree instantly became a towering tree, and the budding flowers bloomed in an instant. What is this? Dragoness Ao Jiao and Princess Qi Liqui exclaimed in admiration. Their beautiful eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Even Long Shengnan clicked her tongue in wonder and couldn't believe it. Time array disc. It can speed up time by 10 times, 100 times. Beside him, Bai Zhe said proudly, my lord obtained it from Earth. I think it should be something left behind by an ancient sage. What? There's such a treasure on Earth? The 3 women were shocked and couldn't believe it. They were also extremely envious. It was a huge cheating device that defied nature to the extreme. Imagine, with the support of the time array disc, the cultivation speed would also increase by 10 times or 100 times. Others would need a year to cross the threshold, but you would only need a month to do it. Looks like what the Ruins Emperor said wasn't false. There are so many heavenly treasures on Earth that even surpass Tao artifacts. Maybe the opportunity to become an immortal is real too. Long Xingnan's eyes were filled with uncertainty. We still underestimated Kong Teichu. We were too careless. If we had sent all the nascent soul cultivators to Earth in the beginning, we wouldn't have let him grow. Yep. Not only will his cultivation speed increase, but so will his alchemy. Bai Zhe said arrogantly. My lord said that although the elixir of immortality is already very pure, it still doesn't meet his requirements. It has some demonic qi, so he will first refine it into an elixir before swallowing it. What? He knows how to refine elixirs? Ao Jiao's beautiful eyes sparkled as she looked at him with admiration. She instantly became Jiang Tian's little fangirl and murmured, I heard that he's also good at refining and array formations. His cultivation is also powerful. He's simply an all-rounder. It's perfect. Refining elixirs is different from cultivation. It's used on external objects, and it's all painstaking work. Now that his hand speed has increased by 10 times, or even 100 times, the difficulty of refining has reached an unbelievable level. However, Long Shengnan wasn't optimistic. She frowned and said, Kong Teichu is still too impulsive. Even the alchemy supremes of the ruins of immortality might not be able to do it. What do you know? How would you know Senior Taichu's ability? You're just a loser. Ao Jiao was unhappy and retorted, let's wait and see. Long Shengnan was so angry that her face was red and her body was trembling, but she didn't dare to refute. She thought to herself, when I get rid of Kong Teichu, I'll find a chance to capture you and humiliate you. At this time, Jiang Tian waved his hand and formed a seal with his right hand. He pushed gently and shouted in a low voice, Innumerable elixir refining method, first change, dark furnace change. Rumble. The thick earth dragon burst out, and formed a dragon-shaped elixir furnace in the air. In the void, countless chi of earth veins surged like thousands of dragons. The surrounding area trembled. The chi of earth veins was extracted, and the chi of the galaxy crystal sand was released. In the end, the chi of essence and primordial chi gathered together, and formed a huge elixir furnace with a radius of 100 meters and a height of 200 meters. Oh my God! Everyone looked up at the ancient and boundless pill furnace floating in the air above the palace. It exuded a vigorous aura, and their expressions changed. Second change, true fire change. Jiang Tian calmly stretched out his jade-white right hand toward the sky. Rumble. Suddenly, a bright red flame shot out from the center of his palm. It burned fiercely and entered the pill furnace like a waterfall. That was the true fire of the Red Sparrow. Martial fire could kill people and gentle fire could refine elixirs. Even the famous fire of the Golden Crow, Red Lotus Earth Fire, and Nine Suns Sky Fire were inferior. Then Jiang Tian flicked his sleeve and a giant palm of essence chi burst out, grabbing the immortal divine medicine and throwing it into the furnace. In the end, Jiang Tian stood up, stomped his foot and shouted, Third change, 10,000 elixir change. Thousands of kinds of auxiliary spirit herbs and elixirs that Jiang Tian had prepared flew out and floated around the mouth of the furnace. Then Jiang Tian soared into the air and arrived outside the door. He flicked his fingers and his arms danced wildly. He was so fast that he left behind afterimages in the air. He was like an 8-armed demon god or a 1,000-armed guanyin, as he threw those supplementary materials into the furnace. Half an hour later, thousands of lightning bolts appeared in the sky, as if a peerless heavenly lord was going through a tribulation. In the end, the Yuan Qi True Furnace exploded, and a resplendent beam of light shot straight into the sky like a golden dragon. A glittering and crystal-clear elixir fell into Jiang Tian's hand, and an earth-shattering aroma spread out. At this moment, in the sky above the nameless valley, wind whistled, thunder rumbled, and light flickered. Qi rushed into the heavens, and medicinal fragrance wafted out for 300 li. It was as if a resplendent star had landed in Jiang Tian's hand, and not a medicinal pill. Many strange phenomena erupted from the elixir in Jiang Tian's hand. There were dragons circling, phoenixes flying in the sky, cheelants roaring and xian turtles crawling in the sky. It smells so good. It smells so good. 300 miles away, countless berserk demonic beasts were drooling. Their eyes were dazed. Then, with their hooves facing the sky, they fell to the ground drunk. Oh God! This is a true elixir. Or even higher. Long Shengnan was dumbfounded. At her level, her horizons were extraordinary, and what she came into contact with was no longer ordinary spirit pills, but various divine medicines and precious medicines. In the ruins of immortality, elixirs were divided into spirit elixir, treasure elixir, true elixir, Tao elixir, heavenly elixir, immortal elixir, and many other levels. A true elixir contained laws and touched the great Tao, triggering the thunder tribulation of heaven and earth, erupting with magnificent phenomena and fragrance. If golden core cultivators ate it, at least 10 nascent soul heavenly lords could be produced. Treasure elixirs were very rare. Those who could refine them were usually called alchemy grandmasters. There were only a dozen alchemy emperors who could refine true elixirs in the ruins of immortality. There was only one person who could refine Tao elixir in the ruins of immortality. He was called the Alchemy Venerable and had a supreme status. More importantly, Jiang Tian was refining elixirs too fast. He used the time acceleration array, and his movements were 10 times or 100 times faster. It was a great challenge. But Jiang Tian did it. That was something that even the Alchemy Venerables couldn't do. Chapter 1427. The elixir made by Senior will release some spirit chi. That's a great blessing. Everyone, please cherish this opportunity. Ancestral Patriarch Takong reminded them. In fact, those people present would become the core of the battle between Jiang Tian and the Ruins Emperor in the future. Ancestral Patriarch Takong was helping them. Boom. Jiang Tian sat cross-legged in the air and cast the Taotai Origin returning divine power. 100-foot black hole appeared in front of his chest and sucked in the immortal divine pill. He swallowed half of the elixir with the Taotai Origin returning divine pill like a whale swallowing a cow. Such a massive amount of spiritual qi could be said to be terrifying. As it seeped out of his body, the surface of Jiang Tian's body began to emit rays of multicolored light and auspicious colors. His spiritual qi shot out violently, and his aura surged. Boundless and vast power burst out from his body. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Everything within a radius of 100 miles trembled. That amount of spirit chi was enough to push out a few nascent soul cultivators. Even a nascent soul heavenly lord would explode if he swallowed it recklessly. Refine. However, it wasn't a problem for Jiang Tian. His gung metal divine body had already transcended to become the gung metal immortal body and reached the limit. There weren't many forces in the universe that could destroy such a body. Not to mention that it was only the essence chi and medicinal power. Rumble. Jiang Tian's body sounded like a raging river. It was extremely shocking and his dantian rumbled like an earthquake. Everyone within a 100-mile radius could feel it. That was the result of the vast spirit chi from the immortal divine pill being converted into dark matter by Jiang Tian, using the transcending 9 forms mystic art, and the spirit creation art of all things creation. Along with the increase of the dark matter, the Taotia's vortex also became bigger and bigger. It had a radius of 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles. In the end, it was like a huge star ring that stretched across the abyss. It was a shocking sight. The black hole-like vortex of the Taotia's return to origin emitted a violent devouring force. Mountains that were thousands of meters tall were uprooted from the ground and torn into pieces by the vortex storm. Some even completely disappeared and were completely devoured. At the same time, a divine disk appeared behind Jiang Tian and rotated slowly. The other Dharma idols also appeared behind Jiang Tian. Whirling divine tree, true fire vermilion bird, thick earth winged dragon, Xianshui green dragon, lightning mantis, snow giant. Each one was 10,000 feet tall, and seemed to be able to hold up the sky and rush out of the ancient demon abyss. How terrifying! Is this his Dharma idol? Long Shengnan was so shocked that her hair stood on end. Many people of the same generation and the battle gods of the ruins of immortality had heard of Jiang Tian's name, and how he had killed heavenly lords like Duanmu Guang of the Jade Lake, but they still thought he was just an ant from the lower worlds who had won by luck. Now she couldn't help but want to laugh. These people were too arrogant. Jiang Tian was the true dragon of the 9 heavens. When Jiang Tian battled with them on the 18 island, he had just cultivated the gung metal immortal body. Thus he had the idea of testing out this body constitution. He had been relying on his physical body to fight without using any mana. Therefore, she had an illusion that Jiang Tian only had a special body constitution, and was only mediocre in terms of divine powers and Dharma idols. Only now did she realize that she was gravely mistaken. Jiang Tian's Dharma power was too vast and far exceeded that of any heavenly lord. It could be said that if Jiang Tian hadn't used all kinds of methods to test the gung metal immortal body, all the heavenly lords would have turned to dust in 15 minutes. At this time, Ao Jiao and Qi Jiui were already stunned. Their minds had stopped, and they were deeply shocked. Under the catalysis of the time array disk, Jiang Tian's devouring speed was extremely fast. After a day, the immortal divine medicine had been completely refined into dark matter. At this time, the Taotai essence returning vortex had already spanned 3,000 miles. This Dharma idol was far more powerful than any nascent soul heavenly lord, and was close to a soul formation heavenly lord. The Taotai golden core was already in the shape of a nascent soul, like a baby Taotai. But this Taotai wasn't a divine beast, but a fiend god. Dharma consolidation. At this moment, Jiang Tian let out a soft shout. Wang, Wang, Wang. The dark matter within the numerous Taoyes origin returning vortexes transformed into numerous tiny black talisman markings, and they formed numerous chapters of laws before returning to be branded onto Jiang Tian's internal organs, Dantian, and even his sea of consciousness. In the end, Jiang Tian's entire body was formed from the law of gluttony. His entire body was like a huge black hole that could devour everything and contain everything. He was like a huge furnace that could even devour and refine the 9 heavens and 10 earths to become his food. Terrifying. This is a fiend god that can devour the heavens and earth. Long Shengnan was terrified. Her eyes were trembling and her beautiful eyes were filled with shock. At this time, she had already retreated a few thousand miles, and was a few hundred miles away from the Taotai essence returning vortex. She was almost out of the ancient demon abyss. But just by looking at Jiang Tian, she felt that she could be devoured by Jiang Tian. Her golden core and divine soul were also about to be devoured by Jiang Tian. When Jiang Tian caught Emperor Chen Qing's nascent soul on the 18 island, it took him dozens of seconds to refine it. But now she had no doubt. Even if Emperor Chen Qing were in his prime with his nascent soul, body and Dharma idol, Jiang Tian would only need a second to devour him. His cultivation art is definitely not from Earth. Maybe it's from a celestial sect deep in the star ocean. Long Shengnan lowered her head and mumbled with a frightened look. While Jiang Tian was breaking through, in the deepest part of the ancient demon abyss, there was a hot spring and there was steam rising. There were even earthly fires rising from time to time. A sloppily dressed old man with chicken skin and a crane head was sitting cross-legged on a huge red rock with his eyes slightly closed. He was like a hibernating dragon. Behind him stood a 16-year-old girl in a fiery red outfit. She had an oval face and big watery eyes. Her appearance was bright and beautiful, revealing 2 cute little canine teeth. She held a blood-stained whip in her hand. Next to her, a young man in an azure outfit and a beautiful fairy were bathing in the hot spring and playing chess on a floating chessboard. They were Wu Shujian and Fairy Yaoyu. They seemed to be able to compete with the old man and the girl. Beneath the girl's feet, the 3 unlucky fellows, Quasi-Heaven Monarch Myriad Poisons, Jian Kuang, and Perfected Monarch Red Tiger, were crawling on the ground in a sorry state. Their Taoist robes were torn apart, and their faces were filled with fear. They had become the red-clothed girl's prisoners. Suddenly, the old man opened his eyes and exclaimed softly, "Ha! There's a huge wave 10,000 miles away. Someone is trying to break through to the nascent soul level. Who is it?" At this moment, everyone was stunned. There were a lot of ancient arrays left in this place. The magnetic force was chaotic, and there was a lot of interference. Even nascent soul heavenly lords could only extend their immortal will 1,000 miles away. And yet, this old man was able to sense the waves 10,000 miles away. His soul energy was extremely powerful. Poisonous bug. Bastard. Our ancestral patriarch is asking you a question. Hurry up. The girl in a red outfit swung her whip and quasi-heavenly Lord Wandu's body flew a few hundred meters away. Ancestral patriarch, that should be the nameless valley. The Qi family is looking for the divine medicine of immortality. Quasi-heavenly Lord Wandu said pitifully. When they saw that the enemy was too powerful, they immediately ran away together, but they were caught by the girl in a red outfit and the old man. The old man was apparently an experienced nascent soul cultivator in the western desert. Heavenly Lord Wanmu. He was several times more powerful than Azure the Archchin, and even Long Baxia. Back then, he had followed the Emperor of the Ruins to conquer the world, and was once the Chancellor of the 100 Moon Academy. That position was extremely high, and there were only a dozen of them in the 100 Moon Academy. The 100 Moon Academy was like the Imperial College in Wuxia. It recruited all the talents in the world, and the Chancellor was one of the officers in charge. During the ancient ceremony, the oldest person would offer wine to the ground during the sacrificial banquet, so the Chancellor was a title. Someone like Heavenly Lord Wanmu was too terrifying. He alone had the power to defeat all the worlds in Hailan. The divine medicine of immortality? Ancestral Patriarch Wanmu said with disdain. It can only create a few nascent soul cultivators. It's still a long way from reaching the soul formation level. Only ants from the lower dimensions like the Dark Parasol clan's Chi clan would mobilize such a large force for it. A cultivator like him who was close to reaching the soul formation level had no other thoughts in his mind. He only wanted to reach the top of the soul formation level. He didn't care about anything else. Ancestral Patriarch, don't just think about yourself. I've just become a nascent soul cultivator. If I get this treasure, I can break through a few more levels. The girl in red said coquettishly, help me ask the Qi family for it. If you want it, it's just a matter of asking. Qi Jui wouldn't dare to do it even if he had 100 guts. Her plump chest pressed against the old man's back, and her jade-like arms stretched out to hug him. She revealed a seductive appearance that didn't match her age, and charmed all living things. She said coquettishly, if you help me get it, I'll serve you well tonight. Anything will do. So she's not his granddaughter. She's his Dao companion. No, she should be his concubine. Quasi-Heavenly Lord Myriad Poison, Jian Kuang, and Perfected Lord Red Tiger looked at each other, and understood something. They exclaimed that Wanmu really knew how to enjoy himself. Yes. Little demon, I'll help you get it. However, the inheritance of the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor is the most important. The day of the inheritance's opening is coming soon. How can I care about anything else? Heavenly Lord Wanmu closed his eyes and cultivated again. His aura was faint. Chapter 1428. 3 days later, Jiang Tian came out of seclusion. In that instant, 9 heavenly lightning bolts that were 10,000 feet long, comparable to the nascent soul thunder tribulation, came crashing down. However, the Taotai demon god turned into a giant black hand and grabbed at it. Then, it turned into a black vortex of laws and swallowed it, returning it to the Thunder Slaughter Golden Core. The law of Taotai revolved around Jiang Tian's body. Above the dazzling divine disk behind him, the scattered galaxy that represented the Taoya's supernatural power had completely solidified into a law true seal. It was a Taotai devil god that looked like it was made of golden water, extremely dazzling and solid. Jiang Tian took a step forward, and 1,000 zhang tall Taotai demon god appeared behind him. It opened its mouth and inhaled, and 1,000 zhang tall mountain was instantly annihilated, turning into torrential earth chi. It was then devoured by the Taotai demon god, and refined into the thick earth-winged dragon golden core. At that moment, everyone was shocked to the extreme. They knew that Jiang Tian had completed the second transformation of the divine disk. Facing the terrifying devouring force, all the violent demon beasts, gold core realm, and even nascent soul realm demon generals within a radius of 1,000 miles all prostrated themselves on the ground, shivering in fear. Even the Foundation Establishment realm demon generals were so scared that their hooves were facing the sky. Their mouths were foaming, and they couldn't stop twitching. As for the weaker ones, they fainted or even died on the spot. The second transformation of the divine disk. The Taotai golden core has reached the nascent soul realm. The Taotai origin returning divine body has also reached the limit. It has completely transcended and become the Taotai demon god. It can even combine self and one. Jiang Tian checked his body, and his figure flickered. Boom. His original body merged with the Dharma form. Jiang Tian's body kept growing taller, until he became a 10,000 feet tall humanoid creature that was as tall as a mountain. But this humanoid creature had the head of a Taotai. Its facial features also had Jiang Tian's arrogant charm. The huge body was surrounded by dark matter and the Taotai demon god's law. Behind him was a huge divine disk that was like a sun hanging high in the sky. It shone brightly and illuminated half of the ancient demon abyss. Even the miasma, fog, demonic aura and the light of ancient arrays were swept away. Is this Senior Grand Primordium? Ao Jiao and Qi Liqui looked at the huge figure in confusion. They were in a trance and couldn't help but blurt out. At this moment, Jiang Tian looked too shocking and shocking. He carried a divine disc that was like a vortex of stars on his back while he stood in space. He was covered in dark matter and the laws of gluttony, and he possessed a trace of the aura of the Tao. He was like a god of creation, a devil god of annihilation, and he possessed both divinity and devilish nature. He was capable of instantly devouring and suppressing the entire world. This is the legendary Fa and 1. Both Ta Kong and Mingyi were shocked and dumbfounded. Fa and 1. Oh my god! Long Xingnan's heart was in turmoil. Her beautiful eyes almost popped out of their sockets. She couldn't accept this. Legend had it that those with extremely special bloodlines and extraordinary talent, or those who had formed a top-grade nascent soul, would be able to fuse their Dharma idol with their physical body after cultivating for 100 years. They would be able to fuse their Dharma idol with their physical body, as well as their Dharma idol with their Dharma idol. In this way, he would be able to wield it smoothly and freely in battle. No matter how powerful a Dharma idol was, it was still an external object after all. It needed a golden core or nascent soul cultivator to control and mind control it. Besides, the Dharma idol, physical body, blood energy, mind power and divine powers were all fused into one. The coefficient would be concentrated without any waste and their power would be increased tenfold. However, Jiang Tian was able to fuse his Dharma idol with his Dharma idol even though he hadn't become a nascent soul cultivator. This was like a legend. She was extremely talented and had formed a superior grade golden core back then. She was only a nascent soul cultivator, but she was already as powerful as a nascent soul cultivator, which was something she was proud of. However, compared to Jiang Tian, she really felt like she was trash. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call her a loser. I didn't lose the Battle of the 18 Islands for nothing. Even Cheng Aojuan, the top of the God of War role, Xia He, Chun Yu and Qiu Ming of the Ruins Emperor's Palace are still a distance away from him. She sighed in her mind. A peerless figure like Jiang Tian had never been heard of in the ruins of deity for thousands of years, let alone in the Hylon world. Even the current palace lord of the Ruins Emperor's Palace, Divine Lord Jinshu, might not be that powerful when he was at the Golden Core stage. However, she vaguely understood what was going on. Jiang Tian had more than one Golden Core. Previously, his Gung Metal Golden Core was already at the nascent soul stage. Now he had another one. At that moment, she felt that Jiang Tian was a little shameless, or even sinister. Jiang Tian usually used the soul-suppressing chains and divine powers to suppress his cultivation level, so his cultivation level was only at the foundation establishment realm. In fact, Jiang Tian's true cultivation level was already 1 nascent soul golden core, and 8 golden cores. Even if he revealed his golden core cultivation level, others would not be able to tell that his Gung Metal Golden Core was already at the nascent soul stage. Most importantly, his nascent soul combat strength was too terrifying. He could crush ordinary nascent soul cultivators and reveal the power of laws. Therefore, most cultivators would lower their guard when encountering Jiang Tian, only to be caught off guard by Jiang Tian. His divine disc seems to be divided into 9 galaxies. Each galaxy has to undergo a revolution. Every revolution is a golden core nascent soul formation, a sublimation of his physique and a condensation of laws into a true seal. When he was at the first revolution, he could already kill nascent soul heavenly lords like cutting grass. Once he completes the 9th revolution and forms a peerless nascent soul, how terrifying would that be? Long Xingnan's body trembled, and a thought appeared in her mind. Senior, do you still want to continue cultivating? Seeing Jiang Tian retract his Dharma body and turn into a black-robed, black-haired and black-eyed young man again, Ao Jiao went forward and handed him a cup of spirit tea. In just a few days, she had received great blessings with the endless nourishment of the immortal divine medicine. She had already reached the half-step nascent soul realm, and was surrounded by a powerful flood dragon Dharma form. She was only a step away from condensing the flood dragon Dharma laws. The immortal divine medicine was only one part of it. While Jiang Tian was cultivating, he had been doing 2 things at the same time. He had also casually taught her how to refine and upgrade the immortal divine medicine. Every word he said was like a gem. His understanding of the Flood Dragon bloodline, and the Flood Dragon bloodline, had reached an unprecedented level. She was confident that she could fight Long Shengnan now. The reason why she asked that? It was because Jiang Tian had taken half of the immortal divine medicine. If he wanted to refine all of it, he could go one step further. Since Long Pejuan hadn't sent any news, the treasure would probably open in half a month or even longer. Jiang Tian originally planned to cultivate there for a while more to improve his sea-calming ice divine body. Since materials like the Dinghai Pearl were extremely difficult to find, it would be safer to replace it with the immortal divine medicine. That way, he would have another real trump card, one that he wouldn't have to be afraid of even when facing soul formation overlords. However, when Jiang Tian's gaze and divine sense accidentally penetrated the miasma fog, and the chaotic force field of the formation, and captured some images and information, his expression couldn't help but change slightly, and his eyes suddenly became cold and fierce. In his eyes, purple lightning rings intertwined and flashed. 9 colored flames burned fiercely, as if they were about to burst out. An extremely terrifying and cold viciousness came out of his body, as if it were going to kill billions of creatures in the world. Master! Senior! Heavenly Lord! Ao Jiao and Qi Liqui yelled. They didn't know what was going on. Long Shengnan trembled in fear and didn't dare to look up. Right then, Jiang Tian's viciousness was extremely dense. That terrifying viciousness seemed to be able to freeze the world, and she couldn't withstand it. I'm fine. Jiang Tian slowly closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were already indifferent. There were not many fluctuations in his eyes, as if he was a celestial looking down at ants. The treasure of the Golden Crow is about to open. I'm going to get it right away. Besides, Nether River has already fought with them. Chapter 1429. The place where Jiang Tian was now had layers of restrictions left behind by the Golden Crow ancient emperor, but they could not stop Jiang Tian's divine sense. It didn't take long for some words to reach Jiang Tian's ears. Dark River kneel. This treasure trove belongs to the 100 Moons Academy. Although he couldn't hear them clearly, Jiang Tian could tell that many heroes had gathered in the depths of the valley. Even eccentric Dark River was at a disadvantage. Okay. What a great 100 Moons Academy. I have already arrived in this world and declared its independence. How dare you touch it? Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with killing intent. It didn't matter if Long Pejuan suffered a loss. After all, this kid had just followed him, and he wasn't that loyal. However, Old Monster Sticks was Jiang Tian's follower, and he had been diligent in his work over the years. Jiang Tian had already regarded him as one of his own. The people from the 100 Moons Academy dared to attack him. That was the same as touching Jiang Tian's reverse scale. They've already started. Ao Jiao, Qi Liqui, and the other girls were all shocked. Someone who could fight old freak sticks must be extraordinary. Let's go. Jiang Tian waved his sleeves and brought everyone away. Following which, with a loud boom, it shot up into the sky and turned into a dazzling black light beam. It was like a long golden rainbow that shot towards the depths of the ancient demon abyss. The rushing current valley had a radius of 10 miles. It was not big. At this moment, tens of thousands of wild demonic beasts had gathered. Under the leadership of Long Pejuan and Old Monster Sticks, they were facing off against the foreign invaders. At this moment, there were already many more foreign guests than there were a day ago. The cultivators were densely packed, numbering in the tens of thousands. It seemed that after the news of the Golden Crow ancient emperor's inheritance had spread, many forces had come. They moved immediately upon hearing the news, wanting to get a share of the loot. The periphery of the treasure was roughly divided into 3 echelons. The first echelon. Of course, they were Wu Shujian and Fairy Yaoyu, the immortal couple, and Kumu and the girl in red. Both of them had reached the level of nascent soul. They were either young talents or living fossils. Now there was another black-robed old woman, who was holding the hand of a red-robed boy. Her strength was not much weaker than Patriarch Deadwood's, and should be about the same. These 3 forces stood alone in their respective regions, and stood against each other as equals. Their auras overflowed into the heavens. Some of their auras were ethereal and dark, some of them were shrouded in light, and some of them were shrouded in black light. All around them, their true treasures bloomed with resplendent light. Many family heads, old ancestors, and sect elders respectfully sat down. The second echelon was made up of some giants from the North Sea and the Punglai world. The son of the North Sea Blade Emperor from the North Sea, the current sect master of the Nine Cloud Sword sect, Master Su Kong from the Punglai world, Zhang Qingyang from the Tianhuang sect. All of them had extraordinary backgrounds. They were either elites or overlords. They had all reached the peak stage of the Golden Core level, or even the nascent soul level. These giants of the third-level worlds did not dare to compete with Kumu, Wu Shujian, and the black-robed old woman. Instead, they went forward and bowed to them, saying that they were willing to follow and cooperate with them. Under their leadership, they would excavate the treasures of the Golden Crow ancient emperor together, and drink some leftovers. You eat the meat, and I drink the soup. The third echelon was made up of some mysterious rogue cultivators, and some old monsters who had lived in seclusion. Many of them hadn't shown up in a long time. Some of them revealed their identities and chose to work with the big shots in front of them. Those cultivators were easier to deal with. There were also some indescribable cultivators that had their faces covered by black magic artifacts as they sat cross-legged in meditation. They didn't say a single word as they watched coldly from the sidelines. Some of them were even hidden in the shadows, but they were obviously accumulating strength and waiting to take action. They wanted to take advantage of the chaos or even seize the treasures, causing everyone to be unable to make heads or tails of them. They were the most unstable factor in this expedition to the treasure trove. Long Pajuan, you're just a beast in human form. How dare you compete with Heavenly Lord Kumu? Do you want to die? The woman in a red outfit was called Lu Fei. She used to be a normal inner disciple of the 100 Moons Academy in the ruins of Deity. She wasn't even on the war god list. However, she was naturally charming and was good at dual cultivation. She had obtained endless resources by becoming Chancellor Kumu's woman. Then, she had become a nascent soul cultivator and ranked 80th on the war god list. She was an inner elite of the 100 Moons Academy, and was even better than Long Shengnan. She had a very high opinion of herself, so of course she didn't think much of someone from a lower realm like Long Pajuan. She was like a noble looking down on a lowly gang leader. It's not a competition. It's just that the old man is the deputy palace lord of the Kangwu Palace in the Yingzhou world. He was asked by Qi Jiui to protect the treasures of this world. It's my duty. I have no choice. Long Pajuan seemed to sigh helplessly, but he was actually arguing. The treasures of the Golden Crow ancient emperor belonged to the Yingzhou world in the first place. Outsiders had no right to touch them. He wasn't lying or exaggerating at all. Because they had all followed Jiang Tian, Long Pajuan and the many violent demonic beasts and the Blue Parasol Palace's Qi family, two forces that had fought for thousands of years, had already made peace. Realm Lord Qi Jiui had also invited him to become the Vice Palace Master of the Blue Parasol Palace. Who does Qi Jiui think he is? Even if he came here personally, he would have to leave if I told him to. If you don't leave, I'll kill you, Lu Fei said with disdain. They came from a level 2 world, and even had the right to join the 100 Moons Academy. They were high up and looked down on the other worlds like gods. Why would they care about ants from the lower worlds? Long Pajuan didn't say anything and just smiled. He didn't use Jiang Tian's name to pressure them. He thought that Jiang Tian was still at the point of breaking through, and was at his weakest. If he exposed himself, they might surround and kill Jiang Tian first. That would be troublesome. Even though he was cruel and heartless, he was also very cunning. He didn't want to offend Jiang Tian before he showed up. I'm going to take the treasures of the Golden Crow. If you want to fight for it, I don't mind crushing you with my bare hands. The old woman in a black robe said viciously. Next to her was a 7 or 8-year-old child in a red outfit. He was eating candied haws casually and said arrogantly, "Yes, it's all mine." This old woman was a living fossil of a heavenly sect from the ocean wave world. Her name was Qin Shuang. She was an experienced nascent soul cultivator, and was invincible when it came to the restrictions of the Frost River. She had once dominated the ocean wave world, and was even able to fight with Long Wuxia. Her aura alone seemed to be able to suppress thousands of soldiers and horses, as if those violent monsters were just ants that she could crush with a wave of her hand. She stared at Old Monster Nether River and Long Pujuan and said coldly, "Get out of my way, or I'll start a massacre." "Old man, I'm not convinced." Old Monster Nether River was furious. He took a step forward and only said a few words, but they were filled with an unyielding fighting spirit. He, Old Monster Nether River, used to be the sect master of the Netherworld sect in the Northern Sea world. He was a realm lord back then, and his words carried weight. Yet Ocean Wave and the Immortal Ruins experts had banished him and replaced him with the North Sea Saber Emperor, who took everything from the Northern Sea world like an emperor treating his slaves. He was not convinced. "Why? You, the Ruins Emperor, are the outsider, the invader. This place originally belonged to the natives of ancient Earth. All the resources here belong to us." "You're not convinced? Fine." The black-robed old woman Qin Shuang chuckled. All of a sudden, she unleashed a palm attack. "Kill." Old Monster Nether River's law of the Netherworld burst out, forming a forbidden zone that stretched across the sky and wrapped around Qin Shuang. Old Monster Mingi was very strong, but the black-robed old woman, Qin Shuang, was even stronger. She was comparable to Patriarch Deadwood. Therefore, his Netherworld restriction was instantly frozen and covered with white frost. It could no longer unleash any lethality. Bang! Old Monster Nether River was slapped to the ground, creating a huge gully. His body was almost shattered. Everyone was shocked. Many of the violent demon beasts were trembling in fear and whining in pain. "Children, fight." Long Pujuan let out a bitter laugh that was filled with despair and sorrow. Suddenly, he took out a purple Tyrannosaurus spear. It pierced through the void and stabbed at Qin Shuang, trying to rescue Old Monster Nether River. A great battle immediately broke out. Chapter 1430. This was a fierce battle. Thousands of beasts roared and ran, shaking the heavens and the earth. Beasts flapped their wings and slashed down like blades. Qin Shuang's restrictions were activated and frost filled the sky. Lu Fei's sword Qi was like a river, killing thousands of soldiers with one attack. Blood stained the sky and roars were like thunder. Screams pierced through the clouds, and the sword Qi spread for 300 miles. Giant corpses were piled up on the red ground. The violent beasts were very powerful, especially their bodies. They could even fight with the dragons of the Kangwu Palace and Aofeng for a few thousand years. But they were facing the overlords from the ruins of deity, the elites of the 100 Moon Academy and many helpers. 20 minutes later, blood stained the ground in the rushing current valley. Countless corpses piled up like mountains and covered the entire valley. Even the mist in the sky was dyed red, like a beautiful morning glow. On this day, a total of 1,342 demonic beasts above the Jindan stage were crushed into meat paste. Countless demonic beasts of the building foundation stage died. But none of them, including Long Pujuan, retreated. Violent beasts had low intelligence and were bloodthirsty, so they weren't liked by humans. But there was one rule. Once they recognized a master, they were extremely loyal and didn't fear death. Moreover, their sense of community was very strong. They advanced and retreated together, unlike human cultivators who deceived each other and harbored ulterior motives. Long Pujuan and Old Monster Acheron lay on the ground, severely injured. Their clothes were tattered and their Dharma artifacts were broken. Blood gushed out and their bones were broken. "Fight! We can only fight. This land and the treasures belong to our master. We'll protect it even if we die 10,000 times. We won't surrender." However, they still had to support themselves and stand up. Their eyes shone with an ominous glint, and their blood surged like a tide. Their battle intent surged as they wanted to fight against the universe again. These two old men are like rocks in the toilet. They're smelly and hard. "I'll kill them." Lu Fei snorted coldly. Her pretty face was full of viciousness and murderous intent. She approached the two people who were already seriously injured. "That girl is the most beautiful girl in the 100 Moon Academy. Have you ever gotten close to her?" Yao Yu Fairy turned around and looked at the sexy Lu Fei. A hint of jealousy flashed in her eyes. I wholeheartedly pursue the Tao. What I pursue is a supreme realm, to become a god in the mortal world. Ordinary women are not in my eyes. Wu Shujian didn't make a move from the beginning to the end. He watched everything with cold eyes and preserved his strength. Brother Shujian is indeed extraordinary. You didn't let me down. Fairy Yao Yu looked at his handsome side profile and sensed his otherworldly aura. He was like a divine king from the 9 heavens. She couldn't help but be mesmerized. Brother Shujian was probably the brightest star in the starry sky. Right at this moment, a sharp clang was heard. A saber light that pierced through heaven and earth suddenly lit up. It was like a meteor streaking across the endless dark sky. Ah! Lu Fei let out a blood-curdling scream. Her merciless longsword that was slashing down at old freak Mingi, which was enough to split mountains and split the earth, actually exploded inch by inch. Then, she flew out like a rag doll with the broken sword in her hand. She crashed into a mountain wall and blasted a huge hole in it. After the saber light flashed, a voice as cold as the cold wind from hell suddenly sounded. How dare you kill my servant? Then everyone's eyes trembled. In the end, everyone's gazes converged on the distant horizon. They saw a black rainbow with a long tail piercing through the air. The black streak of light came to a stop. A young man in black clothes, black hair, black eyes, and a cold gaze stood proudly in the air like a peerless god king, and he looked down at everyone. Everyone was shocked. Isn't that the rogue cultivator Mrs. Su hired? Why is he still alive? And he's so powerful? Quasi-heavenly Lord Wandu, Grand Perfected Cultivator White Crane, Perfected Cultivator Red Tiger, and Jian Kuang were dumbfounded. They knew they were no match for the 9-headed phoenix and the mystic snake when they saw them. Originally, Xiaochen thought that Jiang Tian and Qi Liqui would definitely be finished, devoured by the demonic beasts. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian appeared here in one piece. Lu Fei was a nascent soul cultivator and ranked 80th on the God of War roll, but she couldn't withstand his true essence. How was he so powerful? An overlord? He's just a golden core cultivator. Even Elder Kumu suddenly opened his eyes. After scanning Jiang Tian's body, he revealed a look of disdain and closed his eyes. The old woman Qin Shuang also glanced at Jiang Tian, then turned to Patriarch Deadwood and sent him a message with her divine sense. Old man, your woman is being beaten. Aren't you going to do anything? Aren't you known as a dissolute old thief who loves women a lot? He's just an ant. He's not worth my time. Ancestral Patriarch Kumu sneered and shook his head. That's Kong Teichu. Fairy Yao Yu's eyes flashed with wariness as she asked Wu Shujian. Big brother Shujian, what should we do? Let's just wait and see. Wu Shujian's eyes were deep and unrestrained. He casually played chess and bathed in the warm spring water. With a calm expression, he transmitted his voice. If he wants to fight with Lu Fei and the dead tree, wouldn't that be letting us off easy? Brother Shujian, who do you think will win? Yao Yu Fairy asked. Kong Teichu is indeed strong, but it depends on who he's competing with. Wu Shujian, an outstanding talent from the fertile earth world, gently tapped a chess piece on the chessboard. His face was as calm as an ancient well. He sent a telepathic message. In the ruins of immortality, the ruins Emperor's palace is the center of power. Many of the ruins Emperor's children are in charge. The emperors and princes all listen to the ruins Emperor directly. They have unparalleled power and control many affairs in many worlds. The Golden Crow Guards are an investigation and intelligence organization. They are the eyes and ears of the ruins Emperor. Sky Palace is an organization that studies the weather and spirit chi in the galaxy, as well as explores other cultivators. It's just a name, but it's the weakest. A solemn expression flashed across his face as he said, as for the 100 Moon Academy, it helps the ruins Emperor select and train cultivators. It has many talents and experts. The cultivators of the ruins Emperor's palace, the minions of the Golden Crow Guards, and the Grand Priests of Sky Palace are all trained by them. Do you really think that Kumu, this old man, is as simple as a veteran Yuanian cultivator being able to become a chancellor there? Does he really not have any skills? It can be said that Kong Teichu is an extreme person, and Kumu and the others think highly of themselves, so they can only fight. It can be said that Kong Taechu's ending was destined the moment he came here. He can only die. An elite of a generation is going to die like this. Sad, pitiful, and regretful. Fairy Yao Yu shook her head and sighed. When Jiang Tian rose, he was extremely talented and swept across the multidimensional worlds in the solar system. In the Star World, he defeated the Jade Lake Expedition Army and captured Princess Long Yanin. In the Qi Yi world, he killed ancestral patriarch Rhinoceros and 4 other nascent soul heavenly lords. He was so famous that it even spread to the South Gate twin stars. No one had expected him to cross galaxies and go all the way to the Dragon Gate world. Under heavy siege, he crushed the Jade Lake Realm Lord, Emperor Qinqing, and captured Long Shengnan alive. He killed more than 20 nascent soul heavenly lords, shocking many worlds. By then, the news had spread to the ruins of Deity and many other worlds. Even the Emperor of the Ruins would have heard about it, but he could only die when facing Heavenly Lord Ku Mu. Only Wu Shujian and Fairy Yao Yu knew what the cultivation sects of the ruins of Deity meant, and how powerful the 100 Moons Academy was. The nascent soul cultivators from the low-level worlds like Emperor Qinqing, Long Shengnan and Long Luo couldn't compare with them. Even though Ku Mu also came from a second-level desert world, he joined the 100 Moons Academy later. He was the chancellor appointed by the Emperor of the Ruins. Countless nascent soul cultivators and nascent soul cultivators had been trained by him. So he must have a powerful cultivation sect with earth-shattering power. It wouldn't be difficult for him to fight against dozens of Emperor Qinqing. However, if Kong Taechu is at a disadvantage, we can also help. His sword is very good, very good. Wu Shujian looked calm, but there was a glint of greed in his eyes. Chapter 1431. That sword was too powerful. He had never seen such a good sword before. It seemed to be able to slice through the skies and cut through the sun, moon and stars. Wu Shujian had no doubt that if he could obtain Jiang Tian's sword and successfully refine it, his combat strength would increase by 10 or even 100 times and he would be able to compete with Qing Aojuan, Luo Chongshan and the other elites on the War Emperor leaderboard. He would not be too far away from Chunyu, Xiaohe, Qiuming and the other princes and princesses of the Ruins Emperor's palace. Although many people were talking through voice transmissions, nobody said anything on the surface. Jiang Tian could not be bothered to check their spirit consciousnesses. He would kill anyone who dared to stop him regardless of their schemes. Only Quasi-Heavenly Lord 10,000 Poison, Grand Perfected Lord White Crane, Perfected Lord Red Tiger, and Jian Kuang were ignorant of Jiang Tian's strength and exclaimed. Therefore, when Jiang Tian's cold gaze landed on them, strands of cold murderous intent slowly bloomed. Do you really want me to die? Jiang Tian's face turned cold as he questioned. He did not have a good impression of those people. They were different from Perfected Lord Blackgull, who was used as cannon fodder by Madame Su. They were originally experts of Kangwu Palace, and were worshipped by the Qi family. Qi Liqui was also respectful to them, and treated them wholeheartedly. As the saying goes, if you take someone's money, you have to take care of that person's calamity. They've obtained great benefits, so they ought to have fulfilled their duties. But at the critical moment, they actually disregarded the life and death of their master, abandoning their master and fleeing. Such betrayal caused Jiang Tian to feel extreme contempt in his heart. Cough cough. That's not what I meant. I was just a little surprised. Perfected Lord Red Tiger coughed awkwardly, and there was some wariness in his eyes. Why should I be afraid of him? He's just a golden core itinerant cultivator. He only sneaked up on me shamelessly. Otherwise, how could he be a match for Miss Lu Fei? Quasi-Heavenly Lord 10,000 Poison looked at Jiang Tian with disdain and malice in his eyes. It seemed that this kid had obtained the immortal divine herb. He must be highly regarded by the Qi family, and would compete with him for the position of the state tutor of this world. It was best to eliminate him. This kid might not be that strong, but even if he was, he wouldn't be able to walk out of here alive. No matter what, Lu Fei was Patriarch Deadwood's woman, and he was a veteran nascent soul cultivator, whose power was close to that of a soul formation cultivator. How dare you provoke his woman? Where did this trash come from? How dare you attack me? It was not until 10 seconds later that Lu Fei finally came to her senses. With blood on the corner of her mouth, she soared into the air and faced Jiang Tian. She furrowed her brows and shouted angrily. She was very flirtatious and good at using men. Apart from Elder Deadwood, there were other male cultivators who had sex with her. Therefore, although her talent was average and her Taoist heart was not strong enough, she still obtained many cultivation resources. In the 100 Moon Academy, he was like a fish in water. Now that he was on the God of War list, he was even stronger than Long Shengnan. Such a growth experience naturally nurtured her proud and arrogant personality. In her eyes, a desolate world like Yingzhou was like a remote village. When she saw the cultivators here, she was like a city dweller looking at a country bumpkin. Even Qijiui couldn't enter her eyes. Who do you think you are? Jiang Tian grunted and said with disdain, as if he were looking at an ant. I'll give you half an hour to arrange your funeral, and then kill yourself to apologize to my servant. Otherwise, you won't even have a complete corpse. I'll destroy your body and soul. Old freak Mingy immediately took out a piece of incense, lit it and stuck it into the ground. Kid, you're so arrogant. Lu Fei wanted nothing more than to chop Jiang Tian into pieces. Her originally beautiful and charming face had become hideous and twisted. However, she didn't act rashly. She felt that Jiang Tian's finger aura was extremely powerful, and she couldn't figure out Jiang Tian's background. Although she relied on her beauty and was very arrogant, she wasn't a brainless person. She rose from the bottom and experienced everything. In fact, she was a lot more cautious than normal cultivators. She was even more cautious than Long Shengnan. Lu Fei, he has at least half of the immortal divine medicine. Suddenly, the half-heavenly lord of all things sent an immortal will to Lu Fei and Ku Mu. The Deadwood monarch was too powerful. When he came to this world, he was like a leader coming to inspect the countryside. His words carried enormous weight. He supported Qijiu to become the Grand Preceptor, and Qijiu didn't even dare to say a word. Friends of Yingzhou, help me take him down. I won't mistreat you. Lu Fei said with her immortal will, as if Jiang Tian wasn't worthy of her help. In fact, she was still cautious. She wanted to observe Jiang Tian's power and figure out Jiang Tian's background. Kid, give me your immortal divine medicine. Jian Kuang had a fiery temper. He took a step forward and shouted loudly, Count me in. It's an honor for us cultivators to work for Lu Fei. Grand Perfected Lord White Crane wore a feather robe and a star crown. Its bloodline erupted as its white-feathered Dharma idol burst forth from its back like a crane dancing in the sky. He took out his true artifact and held the crane beak in his left hand, which was flashing with cold light. He held the Vajra claw in his right hand. Jiang Tian, I'll give you 10 seconds to throw away your storage Dharma artifact and die. Otherwise, this old man won't mind turning you into a pool of blood. Little Heavenly Lord 10,000 Poison's eyes flashed with green light, and colorful poisonous energy surged around him. A drop of it was enough to kill a normal golden core cultivator. Hey, why do you have to do this? Everything is just a misunderstanding. Perfected cultivator Red Tiger didn't look fierce. Instead, he was extremely terrifying. He stood still and broke out in cold sweat. His instinct told him that Kong Teichu wasn't someone to be trifled with. This brat is bound to be dealt with by Lu Fei in the future. He'll be deader than dead. Everyone was sure that Jiang Tian would lose, and that perfected cultivator Red Tiger would also be killed by Lu Fei. I'm here to rob. But I haven't robbed you yet, and you dare to rob me? Who gave you the courage? Jiang Tian snorted. His eyes were cold and emotionless as he made his move. A dazzling golden saber radiance spread out and swept across a radius of 1 mile, slashing towards Jian Kuang and the others. What? An itinerant cultivator without any foundation dares to attack me. Violent Dharma sword. Jian Kuang was enraged and let out a thunderous roar. His dantian rumbled and his golden core exploded. One by one, large swords as large as doors appeared in the air, overlapping one another in the air. Every single one of these magic swords were condensed and sharp, and their killing intent was extremely wild and violent. Bolts of lightning shot out explosively around the bodies of the swords, and thunderbolts exploded out. They possessed the ability to chop down mountains and sweep through the surroundings, and they wanted to block Jiang Tian's gung gold blade light. But everything was useless. Jiang Tian had reached phenomenal success in his gunmetal immortal body, and the true seal formed by the gunmetal law was unimaginably powerful. He was only using true essence at the moment, not dharma laws. But the gunmetal true essence was also extremely condensed, and was more than 10 times more powerful than before. With a sharp sound, the many violent magic swords of the sword maniac were cut apart by the gunmetal saber light like a hot knife cutting butter, and then exploded uncontrollably. The blade aura of gunmetal didn't stop after cutting the dharma swords. It slashed his body in half, and even his golden core was cut open. In a blink, his body was smashed into pieces by the exploding golden core. She killed a golden core perfected cultivator with one slash. How can she be so powerful? Seeing this, myriad poison half-step perfected cultivator looked as if he was facing a great enemy. He had just taken out a true weapon poison banner with countless venomous insect patterns on it, shrouded in layers of poisonous smoke. The gunmetal saber light had already shot down like a bolt of lightning from the sky, and it easily chopped off his head. His entire skull was sent flying, and white brain matter and fresh blood stained the sky, and it was a ghastly sight. His body fell down, but a miniature golden core flew out from his head. That golden core looked a lot like him. It couldn't move its limbs and its eyes were closed, but it could already fly. That was the golden core of a nascent soul cultivator. The golden core was already in the shape of a baby, but it hadn't completely merged with the blood, immortal will and other soul energy. Before the nascent soul could fly a few meters, it was immediately cut into pieces by the surging golden saber aura. Then it exploded with a loud bang. Only Grand Perfected Cultivator White Crane, who had the ancient Crane bloodline, turned into a white light and escaped in a flash, barely managing to survive. However, his injuries were not light. The two mid-grade true weapons in his hands were shattered into countless pieces. Countless feathers were minced into pieces by the golden gung blade light. He couldn't even condense the wings of his Dharma idol. They flickered dimly and collapsed to the extreme. He was so scared that his whole body trembled. He was dumbfounded and looked as if he was about to go crazy. That guy's slash is so terrifying. He's a nascent soul heavenly lord. At this moment, countless people cried out in surprise. They were dumbstruck and shocked to the extreme. Chapter 1432. Jiang Tian had killed a golden core perfected cultivator and a half-heavenly lord. Even though Grand Perfected Cultivator White Crane was dead, it wasn't any better. The key point was that Jiang Tian killed too casually. He didn't even use his Jindan or Dharma power. He killed his opponent with a wave of his hand. It was terrifying. Clatter, clatter, clatter. He's a nascent soul overlord. Perfected Cultivator Red Tiger's teeth chattered. He also wanted to rush forward, but he stopped himself at the last moment. If he had been a little impulsive, he would have been dead by now. Hundreds of years of cultivation would have been destroyed in a day. How dare you kill people in front of us? You're asking for death. Lu Fei was enraged. Even though those cultivators from Yingzhou were nothing in her eyes, she had already subdued them, and they were her dogs. As the saying went, one had to look at the owner before beating a dog. Jiang Tian killing those cultivators was a great provocation to her. Half an hour will be up soon. Aren't you going to make arrangements for your funeral? Jiang Tian flicked his fingers with a calm expression, as if he had just killed two famous cultivators of the Yingzhou state, as if he were crushing ants. Who are you, my friend? Lu Fei was about to lose her temper when Lord Kumu suddenly spoke. His eyes were glittering as he asked in surprise. This kid is interesting. Even the old woman, Qin Shuang, raised her eyes and sized Jiang Tian up. You don't deserve to know my name. Jiang Tian showed an indifferent expression, and his tone was cold. Unexpectedly, he did not even care about the Deadwood sovereign. Everyone was startled. This kid is asking for death. Many cultivators shook their heads. He was a living fossil from a second-level world, the Grand Chancellor of the 100 Moons Academy. When he came to this world, he was like a god. No matter how strong you were, you didn't have the qualifications to fight against him. Haha, just as Brother Shujian expected. Kong Teichu is really going to fight with Heavenly Lord Kumu. Yao Yu Fairy covered her mouth and chuckled. Jiang Taichu is a lowly commoner that rose to prominence in a desolate world, and he's experienced too much suffering and suppression. Everything he possesses now was obtained through fighting and slaughter. As the saying goes, the edge of a treasured sword is sharpened, and his Tao heart has become even more tenacious after being tempered by boundless suffering. Wu Shujian's robe fluttered in the wind. He looked like a scholar who didn't regret his moves. He said with a smile, "Heavenly Lord Kumu is only a second-rate cultivator in the ruins of deity, but he used to be the chancellor of the 100 Moon Academy. He has a high position and he thinks highly of himself. How can he be disrespectful to him? So there must be a battle between them." Indeed. Impudent brat. How arrogant. Driedwood Lord of Heaven's face suddenly turned cold. His eyes shot out bolts of cold lightning, and a thunderclap exploded in the void. "You are just a small cultivator from the Ingzhou world, a poor peasant. What right do you have to challenge me?" "Why? Because my master is Kong Taichu." Then ancestral patriarch Mingi shouted furiously. "Because he's a nascent soul cultivator, who killed more than 20 heavenly lords. Why? Is my master not qualified to fight with you? I'll twist your head off and kick it like a ball." Long Pejuan stood behind Jiang Tian with his hands on his hips as he roared. Just now he was humiliated to the extreme by Lu Fei. She called him a bastard and an ant. She mocked him to the extreme. But then Jiang Tian had arrived. He immediately felt that he had someone to rely on, and that it was time for him to hold his head high. At that moment, he finally understood why Ao Feng was willing to follow Jiang Taichu despite not being afraid of the ruins emperor despite being so stubborn. He was so loyal that his heart was like a boulder. Because Kong Taichu had a bottom line. In his world, people were either enemies or comrades. There was no slavery, oppression and humiliation. Once you followed him wholeheartedly, he would treat you as an equal and give you basic respect. He would even give you a lot of resources. But the cultivators of the ruins of deity weren't like that. They only controlled and enslaved. There was no equality and no freedom. Lu Fei was just a toy of Heavenly Lord Kumu, but she thought highly of herself, as if she were a superior god. Kong Taichu. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire place fell into dead silence. Everyone's expressions were interesting. Some were frightened, some were scrutinizing, some were disdainful and some were gloating. What? He's Kong Taichu. Then perfected cultivator Red Tiger was shocked and regretful. I abandoned him and Princess Li Qi to follow that old bastard Wandu? If he had followed Jiang Tian, he would have at least been able to get the divine medicine of immortality and leave unscathed. Even a root would have been a great blessing. After listening to Wandu's persuasion, he went to the Tang Valley to explore the treasures, but he had never thought that he would be surrounded. Clatter, clatter, clatter. It's over. I can't believe I'm in his hands. The North Sea Blade Prince's teeth chattered and his face turned pale. Even his father had been killed by Jiang Tian. He was no match for him. He was worried that Jiang Tian would kill him. No wonder. No wonder he's so arrogant. He has the right to be arrogant. Zhang Qingyang, the Zongzi of the Heaven Baron sect from Penglai, suddenly realized something. He was also a genius in a level 3 world, but compared to Jiang Tian, he was extremely mediocre. After all, Jiang Tian had suppressed his master, Ao Tianjianjin. And he had killed more than 20 nascent soul heavenly lords on the 18 islands. He made a prompt decision, bowed deeply to Jiang Tian, and sent a voice transmission. I came here to explore the treasures because I wanted to give them to the Taichu Heavenly Lord. Since the Heavenly Lord is here, I don't dare to fight. I can only support him. Seeing Jiang Tian calmly glance at him and slightly nod his head, Zhang Qingyang felt as if he had been pardoned. After bowing again, he quickly led the many experts of the Heaven Baron sect out of the circle and watched from the sidelines. He's really fast. Kong Taichu might not win. This time, Heavenly Lord Deadwood and Senior Qin Shuang are here. Master Void, the Lord of Penglai, was wearing a Tai Chi 8 trigrams robe. His face was like jade and his eyes were like stars. Seeing the Heaven Baron sect leave, he sneered. It could be said that heavenly lords like Deadwood and Qin Shuang, who had traveled to the ruins of deity, had peerless cultivation arts and were too powerful. Even 20 normal heavenly lords together were no match for them. Kang Taechu? What's so great about him? He can only suffer when he meets Chancellor Deadwood. Lu Fei mumbled softly, but her eyes were full of fear. Her body swayed and she hid behind Heavenly Lord Deadwood. At this time, Ancestral Patriarch Takong also arrived with Qi Liqui, Long Xingnan, Bai Zhe and the others. They stood behind Jiang Tian with murderous intent and shouted fiercely. The old dragon that the big black dog had transformed into also jumped up and down. Who dares to be enemies with me? The Taichu Heavenly Lord. You have to get past me first. Ancestral Patriarch Takong's energy was ethereal like that of an immortal. But his roar was like thunder. He was full of fighting spirit and his blood was boiling. Like Mingi and Aofeng, he had a blood feud with the worlds of the ruins of deity and had been bullied and killed. At this time, when enemies met, their eyes were especially red. Murderous intent rose to the sky and swept in all directions. The inheritance of the Golden Crow ancient emperor has always belonged to the Ingzhou world. Cultivators from other regions are not allowed to touch it, or they'll be killed without mercy. Qi Liqui also stepped forward and shouted with a frown. She expressed her thoughts and made her attitude clear. She had always sympathized with the Dragon Gate world, and was unwilling to submit to the ruins of deity and Hylon. Previously, she couldn't disobey her father's orders. At this moment, she could finally follow Jiang Tian to fight against the cultivators from other regions. Her heart was surging and her blood was boiling. Fuck a bunch of aliens. Do you know that I came out to rob aliens and conquer the Sea of Stars? Bai Zhe's eyes were arrogant. He had a wild mentality and his thoughts were boundless. He was the most excited when he fought the Southern Gate twin stars. So many golden cores. My lord, don't be too cruel. Crush them all. Keep them to make pills. I want spicy ones. The big black dog's saliva flowed. He looked at everyone greedily and licked Jiang Tian's wrist. This made everyone's hair stand. It was as if a prehistoric monster was staring at them and wanted to turn them into food. Chapter 1433. Chancellor Deadwood from 100 Moons Academy, and the living fossil of Spirit Vulture Palace in Billow's world, Qin Shuang. Although the two of them are from a second-grade world, they have reached the pinnacle of the ruins of immortality, and are very powerful. This will be an astounding battle. Kang Taechu might not win. Long Shengnan did not say a word, but her body trembled slightly. It revealed her nervousness and unease. She obviously hoped that they would kill Jiang Tian, so that she could regain her freedom. However, she had once been captured by Jiang Tian. Would Heavenly Lord Deadwood spare her? Would the Ruins Emperor spare her? Long Shengnan, you have once received the teachings of 100 Moons Academy. You should have infinite love, loyalty, reverence, and faith for His Majesty, the Ruins Emperor. You should have committed suicide immediately after being captured by the enemy. Indeed, Lu Fei was the first to notice Long Shengnan. Her cute face was filled with contempt and contempt. She ground her teeth and sneered. But you actually lost your integrity in order to preserve your life. You willingly became Kang Taechu's lackey. You deserve to die. When I return to the ruins of immortality, I'll definitely submit a memorial to the Ruins Emperor's palace and expose your misdeeds. I'll get the Ruins Emperor's palace to give the order to completely annihilate you and the Black Dragon sect. Fairy Lu Fei, please listen. Long Shengnan felt a chill in her heart as fine beads of cold sweat appeared on her smooth forehead. Then she cupped her fists and pleaded earnestly. My loyalty is paramount. I will never forget His Majesty's grace. I'm willing to shed my last drop of blood for him. Of course, I'm not afraid of death. However, I wish to persuade Kang Taechu to accept the edict. Therefore, I have never committed suicide. Humph. Lu Fei snorted lightly and did not speak further. She had a look of contempt, as though Long Xingnan's death was certain. Good. So it's Kang Taechu. Heavenly Lord Deadwood chuckled. I should have guessed that it was you. Who else but you can be old Freak Styx's master in these worlds? A mere ant from a lower realm. Do you think you're impressive just because you killed a few nascent souls? In front of this old man, you'll always be an ant. Master Void, the North Sea Saber Prince, the 9 Cloud Sword Sect Master Wentian Elder Perfected Cultivator, and the others smiled, thinking that Heavenly Lord Deadwood was going to kill Jiang Tian. "You're not worthy of this old man taking action." Patriarch Deadwood sneered and said, "Master Void, Dao Prince Wentian, all of you attack together and kill this kid for me." Master Void's face was filled with shock and disbelief. What a joke. Kong Teichu is known as the super executioner of nascent soul stage cultivators. We are just at the peak of the gold core stage, and the strongest is at the nascent soul stage. Aren't you asking us to go to our deaths? I, Master Void, am the master of a world in the Penglai world. My words carry enormous weight, and billions of creatures worship me. But in the eyes of Elder Deadwood of the Upper Realm, they are nothing more than ants that can be sacrificed at any time. But he immediately understood, and his heart was filled with bitterness and sorrow. Patriarch Deadwood certainly knew they weren't a match for Chen Fan. But in the end, Patriarch Deadwood didn't care about their lives. He just wanted them to exhaust Jiang Tian's power. When Jiang Tian showed signs of exhaustion, Patriarch Deadwood would attack, and he would have a 100% chance of killing Jiang Tian. Ancestral Patriarch, you're an unparalleled Heavenly Lord. You can kill Kong Teichu with just a finger. Why do you need us? An elder of the Prenglai sect, who was also a peak stage golden core cultivator, trembled and his pale face was filled with fear and reluctance. How dare you disobey my order? Patriarch Deadwood's face was expressionless as he pointed at the sky. There was a loud bang. The elder's body exploded, and before he could even let out a scream, he had turned into a rain of sparkling flesh and blood. Even his gold core and divine soul had disappeared. Everyone kept quiet out of fear. I just want to give everyone a chance to train. At your level, you can only train your Dao heart through a life and death battle to stimulate yourself, and take the last step to become a Heavenly Lord. Patriarch Deadwood looked very sincere with an expression that said, "I'm doing this for your own good." But his eyes were filled with viciousness. Everyone realized that if they refused, he would definitely kill them, and they would end up the same as that elder of the Heaven Baron sect. With Ancestral Patriarch here, what do we have to be afraid of? Let's not waste Patriarch Deadwood's kindness. Let's attack together and kill Kong Teichu. The Ruins Emperor will definitely reward you handsomely. You might even be able to join the 100 Moons Academy. The most pitiful one was Master Void. He knew Patriarch Deadwood's true goal, but he still had to fool everyone. "Ha! Deadwood, you coward. You don't dare to fight me, yet you still find so many excuses." Jiang Tian laughed as he looked at Patriarch Deadwood with disdain. He then said coldly, "Master Void, you're all fools. Child of Void, all of you are being used as cannon fodder, but you do not know it. You are willing to sacrifice your lives for others, and yet, you still wish to receive the Ruins Emperor's grace. It's as though you have been betrayed. Since you want to die, I don't mind sending you on your way." He was domineering and had the bearing of a peerless powerhouse. He waved his sleeves and ordered, "Bai Zai Takong Mingi Black Dog, kill them all. Kill them until they go crazy from fear. Master, we're willing to fight." Patriarch Takong had the bloodline of the Kuan Peng. His sleeves fluttered and his aura was ethereal like an immortal's, as if he was about to ascend. However, his fighting spirit was extremely vigorous and his killing intent surged. He shouted like a peerless general, "Today, we'll flatten the rushing current valley and sweep through the army. We'll let them know that our master is invincible and has no weak soldiers under his command." Old Monster Mingi also stepped into the air and came to the battlefield. He summoned the Nether Dharma form and said sinisterly, "Today, we'll massacre all of you. Leave no one alive. Kill them all. No need to talk nonsense." Bai Zai led the way. His eyes were full of disdain. He dreamed of conquering the Sea of Stars and longed for a great battle. "I want to fight too." Long Pejuan wasn't called by Jiang Tian, but he volunteered. He was full of killing intent and wanted to take revenge. Today, the Berserk Monstrous Beast clan had suffered heavy losses. "Leave your golden cores to me." The large black dog snickered. This guy hid behind everyone. He liked to launch sneak attacks and take advantage of the situation when others were in the middle of a fight. He was very wretched. Patriarch Takong stared at Master Void with hatred written in his eyes. "Master Void, I've been waiting for you for a long time. In the past, he was a big shot in the Penglai world. However, because he opposed the Ruins Emperor's invasion of the Earth realm, and had disagreements with Master Void, he was surrounded and expelled. The foundation of his clan and sect was destroyed, and countless descendants died. He was heavily injured and painfully lost everything. He could only take refuge in the Thunder Lake realm, and endure hundreds of years of loneliness. Takong, I might not be Kong Techu's opponent, but can't I kill you, a loser? Turn into minced meat. Master Void took the lead and led everyone to charge forward. This time many cultivators joined in. There were at least a dozen of them, and none of them were weak. They were all geniuses or magnates. Both sides used their ultimate techniques and immediately attacked each other. Violent fluctuations spread out in all directions, and many powerful cultivators died. Die. Master Void's Dantian rumbled, and a green seal flew out and suppressed everyone. This was an upper-grade true artifact level seal called the Void Seal. It was refined by an ancient sage by cutting off a mountain. It contained laws and was extremely powerful. The moment this seal appeared, it immediately emitted thousands of rays of light that were dazzling to the eyes. With a loud bang, it became bigger and turned into a several hundred zhang tall mountain. It was several times heavier than an ordinary mountain. It carried the force of 10,000 Jun as it rushed towards ancestor Takong to kill him. Many years ago, Patriarch Takong was defeated by this seal. His bones and tendons were broken, and his body was shattered. But now he was not afraid. Instead, he showed some contempt. Boom, boom, in the earth-shattering sound, the air exploded, and everything within a radius of 10 miles trembled. The Seal of Void smashed through the air, its speed extremely fast. The battle immediately broke out. Bai Zhe and Old Monster Mingi joined the battle, and fought with the magnates of Northern Sea and Penglai. Bang! The ground shook, and a huge crater of a few miles was smashed into the ground where Patriarch Takong was standing. It was like a basin. That old bastard is dead for sure. Master Void revealed a smug smile. He believed that Patriarch Takong must have died an unnatural death. Where is he? However, when he scanned with his divine sense, he was shocked. There was no trace of Patriarch Takong under the seal. At this moment, he noticed that the numerous cultivators that were spectating the battle had their eyes wide open as they looked behind him with horrified expressions. I'm here. A voice that sounded like a demon from hell sounded behind him. Master Void's heart tightened, and he was about to turn around. However, he didn't expect Patriarch Takong to be even faster. Whoosh! With an ear-piercing sound, a flying sword had already pierced his dantian. Then his golden core was sucked out by the other party. Chapter 1434. When did your speed become so fast? Master Void staggered and almost fell to the ground. Blood spurted out from the corner of his mouth, and his face was filled with disbelief. I became the disciple of the Taichu Heavenly Lord and reached the nascent soul level a long time ago. You can rest in peace now. Ancestral Patriarch Takong slashed mercilessly. Waves of blood spurted out from Master Void's neck like a fountain, and his head was sent flying. His body fell to the ground. Kill. The Saber Prince of the North Sea charged at Bai Zhe. His saber attack was world-shaking. Layers upon layers of saber radiance surged like a tide, covering the sky and covering the earth. It poured down like a sea of saber radiance, making it impossible to guard against. You're too weak. Bai Zhe snorted coldly and threw out a punch. A huge Bai Zhe divine beast Dharma idol appeared behind him. Boom. No one could describe the power of this punch. A shadow of a fist shot up from Bai Zhe's fist into the sky. Like a torpedo splitting the waves, it opened up a path in the ocean of blade light. It pushed all the way to thousands of feet away and hit the blade light of the North Sea. Boom. This peerless saber was instantly shattered into countless pieces. Following this, the Saber Prince let out a cry of agony. He flew backwards in the air. His body, which was covered in golden armor and exuded an immortal and indestructible aura, let out a series of crackling sounds. His bones shattered inch by inch, and then his golden core exploded. In the end, his body exploded uncontrollably. Brother, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Let's get to know each other better. Meanwhile, old monster Mingi rushed towards the sect master of the Nine Shao Sword sect. Perfected cultivator Wentian's face turned pale, and his body trembled. He smiled and begged for mercy. Brother, why do you have to do this? We don't have any grudges. Have you forgotten that I treated you to a meal a few hundred years ago? Since you're standing on this battlefield, we're mortal enemies. Old monster Mingi was covered in blood, but he was merciless. Perfected cultivator Wentian lost all his vitality and turned into a corpse, falling to the ground. Kill. Long Pijuan's eyes turned red. He had gone crazy from the battle and too many wild beasts had died, which made him extremely angry. The purple violent dragon spear in his hand swept across the sky and pierced through the dantian of a golden core perfected cultivator. With a flick of his spear, this person was reduced to a rain of flesh and blood. This is too scary. Every one of them is so powerful. We are no match for him. Retreat. When the cultivators saw this, they were scared out of their wits and fled in all directions. Even Lu Fei was shocked and in disbelief. Only Heavenly Monarch Deadwood, Qin Shuang, and Wu Shujian managed to maintain their composure. Still want to run. Long Pijuan's spear smashed down like a giant rod, and the 3 golden core perfected cultivators exploded in the air. They turned into mush and blood rained down. A giant ditch a few miles long appeared on the ground. It was a shocking sight. Don't be afraid, don't run. If you become my human pet, I will spare your life and treat you well. The large black dog darted around the battlefield like a bolt of black lightning, wanting to subdue a few great cultivators. However, they didn't listen to him, and were also killed by the large black dog with a swipe of his paw. Whoosh! Whoosh! The remaining cultivators fled in panic like stray dogs. Bodies and broken limbs piled up on the ground. It was extremely bloody and cruel. The entire battlefield in the sky was swept clean. Only Mingi, Ta Kong, Bai Zhe and Long Pijuan were left standing in the sky, looking down at everyone like peerless gods of war. There was dead silence in the sky and on the ground. All the cultivators were dumbfounded and couldn't make a sound. Clatter, clatter, clatter. Only a few cultivators were able to make a sound with their teeth chattering. That's terrifying. The same thought appeared in everyone's mind. They had all heard of Jiang Taichu's strength, and it was already very terrifying. But what was more terrifying was that he didn't have any weak subordinates. They were all nascent soul cultivators, and could easily kill the top overlords of the Baiming world and Penglai world. Besides, each of them was fierce and vicious. They were simply terrifying and no one had the courage to face them. No wonder Sword Saint Outyin didn't dare to fight with him back then. No wonder Sword Saint Outyin went into seclusion after returning. The Zongzi of Heaven Baron sect, Zhang Qingyang, was shocked and lamented. Even if Kong Teichu didn't attack, his subordinates would be abnormally terrifying once they released their combat strength, let alone if he attacked. Fellow Taoist Ku Mu, it's true that you think I'm not qualified to fight you. Jiang Tian looked at Heavenly Lord Ku Mu with a fake smile and said indifferently, however, there doesn't seem to be anyone on your side who can fight me. You're the only one who can do it. Fellow Taoist, your dermic powers are strong and your subordinates are filled with ferocious generals. This old man admits defeat. Chancellor Ku Mu's eyes flashed. To everyone's surprise, he stood up slowly and cupped his fists at Jiang Tian with a hunched back. However, Jiang Tian continued glaring at him with a chilling killing intent in his eyes. He was an important subordinate of the Ruins Emperor, and would have to fight sooner or later. Naturally, he had to eliminate him while he was alone. There was no need to show mercy. It was just a misunderstanding previously. The inheritance of the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor has no owner to begin with. You can use it as you wish. This old man has no objections. He was still smiling, but he was extremely indignant. He was the Chancellor of 100 Moon Academy after all. Even though he had already stepped down, he still had his prestige and had never lowered his head like that. Everyone was also surprised and in disbelief. Even Zhang Qingyang was a bit shocked. In their eyes, the grand old Chancellor of the 100 Moon Academy was an extremely outstanding figure. He was like a god that stood high above everyone else. And yet he was forced to back down by Jiang Tian at this moment. Kong Teichu was really domineering. Brother Shujian, Heavenly Lord Kumu actually backed down? Fairy Yao Yu also couldn't believe it. Her beautiful face was full of shock. The inheritance of the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor can definitely create a nascent soul cultivator, but he's only at the peak stage and not far from the soul formation realm. However, it might not be able to push him to the soul formation realm. What he wants is nothing but to advance to the soul formation realm. Wu Shujian thought it through and heaved a sigh. Even though there are a lot of rumors about the inheritance of the Golden Crow, no one knows for sure what it really is. After all, it's been a long time. Who knows if it's been excavated? Besides, he doesn't know how powerful Kong Teichu is, and there are so many powerful cultivators following him. So there's no need for him to take the risk. What a pity. That sword. He was unwilling to give up. However, Jiang Tian's attitude caused him to be overjoyed. Jiang Tian actually took a step forward. His eyes were filled with coldness. He smiled and said, "Your disciple Lu Fei insulted my servant. I've said that I'll give her the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. You have no objections, right?" After hearing that, everyone was shocked and terrified. Kong Teichu was too arrogant. Everyone knew that Lu Fei was Heavenly Lord Kumu's favorite, and he valued her a lot. A few years ago, a disciple of a heavenly sect in the ruins of deity flirted with her, which made Kumu furious. Many big shots pleaded for mercy, but Heavenly Lord Kumu didn't show any mercy and smashed him into pieces. Jiang Tian's purpose wasn't to kill anyone, but to rub Heavenly Lord Kumu's face on the ground and force him to attack. After all, Jiang Tian was known as the super executioner of nascent soul cultivators, and an unparalleled Heavenly Lord. Killing Lu Fei, who had just entered the nascent soul level a few years ago, was like child's play for him. "You're so rude. You know who I am and you still dare to talk to me like that. Do you want to die?" Lu Fei was so angry that her face flushed red. Her plump chest heaved up and down violently. She ground her fine silver teeth and spoke with hatred. Her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly and revealed a wisp of coldness. "What did you say?" Deadwood Lord was so angry that his face turned pale. His eyes suddenly turned cold and ferocious. Chilling killing intent seeped out of his body. Suddenly, the temperature in 100-mile range dropped dozens of degrees. Frost formed on the plants and snow fell from the sky. Even the hot spring was covered with a thin layer of ice. "Do you have a problem with that?" With his hands behind his back, Jiang Tian approached step by step as if he was taking a stroll in the park. With a playful smile, he said leisurely, "Then reveal your Dharma idol and fight with me." Senior Taichu, ancestral patriarch Kumu's power is beyond your imagination. Long Xingnan bowed and said, "He's from the 100 Moon Academy and the Chancellor of the Ruins Emperor's Palace. Don't be disrespectful to him." "What does this woman want?" Yao Yu Fairy asked. "Doesn't she want Kong Teichu to be severely injured or die so that she can escape?" She knows that Kong Teichu and Heavenly Lord Kumu will fight. She won't change her mind. Wu Shujian's eyes were bright and clear. He smiled and said, "She said that for Heavenly Lord Kumu and Lu Fei, she wants to leave a good impression on them. That way, they won't complain to the Ruins Emperor's palace, and will even put in a good word for her." Jiang Tian suddenly cast a sidelong glance at Long Xingnan. He waved his sleeve and sneered. "You dog, you don't even have the qualifications to be my maid. You're not allowed to talk here." Boom. Long Xingnan was knocked away and her bones cracked. She spurted out blood and fell to the ground. Chapter 1435. Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered to look at her. Instead, he sneered and said, "In front of me, Kong Teichu, you are just trash that I can crush with one slap." Lord Deadwood was originally furious, but when he saw Jiang Tian's fighting spirit, he forced himself to calm down. He didn't know what Jiang Tian was thinking. He clenched his teeth and said with a smile, "This woman is just an ordinary woman, but her dual cultivation skills are really good. If you want her, just take her out and enjoy her. You can do whatever you want with her." After saying that, he covered his face and was about to leave. Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. Just how capable was this Jiang Taichu to be able to make the dignified elder Deadwood retreat to such an extent? He even gave his woman away for Jiang Tian to enjoy. Patriarch. Lu Fei was stunned and couldn't believe it. She was so scared that she knelt down in front of Lord Deadwood and begged. Patriarch, I don't want to go. Is it because I'm not gentle enough and not coquettish enough? Is that why you want to drive me away? She raised her beautiful face and tears rolled down her cheeks. She looked pitiful like a pear blossom in the rain. Please let me stay by your side and serve you well. I'll make sure you're satisfied. This Jiang Taichu was ruthless and cruel to the extreme. Even Long Shengnan, a golden branch and jade leaf, was sent flying with a slap. Her bones were fractured and she was vomiting blood. The driedwood monarch's heart was filled with humiliation and regret. He turned his head away. He couldn't bear to see her begging face. However, the more old he was, the more cautious he was. He didn't want to fight with Jiang Tian for a woman. He smiled gently and said, Taichu has ruled several worlds. He is a genius. But I'm already old. You'll get endless benefits if you become his maid. His eyes suddenly became deep and cold. His sleeves fluttered without wind. A faint pressure came over. He said word by word. You have to think carefully. Don't be stupid. She had followed Deadwood Lord of Heaven for many years and knew him well. She knew that once he said that, he was on the verge of killing someone. If she continued to pester him, he would definitely kill her. Lu Fei walked stiffly towards Jiang Tian like a criminal who was on her way to the execution ground. When she was 20 meters away from Jiang Tian, she knelt down on the ground. Then she moved forward step by step and said with her head on the ground, Grand Primordium Heavenly Monarch, please forgive me this once. I'm willing to serve you for the rest of my life. I won't dare to disobey your orders. After saying this, she looked at Jiang Tian with a pitiful expression, a tear-stained face. Unfortunately, he could only see indifference in Jiang Tian's eyes. She suddenly shivered. The young man in front of him did not seem to belong to this world. Instead, he seemed to be an immortal who had descended from the heavens. There was not a shred of human emotion in his eyes. But Jiang Tian was still unmoved. There was no emotion on his face. If there was any emotion, it was only disdain. He sneered. I said that I'll give you an incense stick's worth of time to kill yourself. Do you think that I, Jiang Taichu, am joking? At this moment, the sandalwood incense stick that old monster Mingi had inserted into the ground finally burned to the last part and completely turned into ashes. On the other hand, amidst an expanse of exclaims of surprise and shrill cries, Jiang Tian had already attacked bluntly, and he slapped Lu Fei into mush with a single palm strike. Lu Fei, a nascent soul heavenly lord, an overlord on the war god roll, and the goddess in the hearts of thousands of cultivators in the 100 Moon Academy, had died. Kong Teichuyu, heavenly monarch Deadwood, was enraged. Who didn't want to enjoy Lu Fei's beauty? He thought Jiang Tian would at least spare her life if he gave her to Jiang Tian. He had never thought that Jiang Tian would be so ruthless as to smash her into pieces. Heavenly monarch Deadwood felt as if his heart had been pierced by a knife after seeing her die such a miserable death. You said I could do whatever I wanted with her, so I did. Why? Do you think it's inappropriate? Jiang Tian flicked his sleeves and stood with his hands behind his back. He looked up at the sky as if it were a beautiful view. Well done, my friend. Old man, I have no objections. Heavenly monarch Deadwood clenched his teeth and was about to leave. Wait. However, Jiang Tian's figure flashed and blocked his way. He said with a faint smile. I heard that the cultivation arts in the ruins of deities are extremely powerful. I, Kong Teichu, have always admired them. This is a rare opportunity. I would like to borrow fellow Taoists' medicinal pills, magic artifacts, and supreme cultivation techniques to study and comprehend them. If fellow Taoist agrees, I will definitely be moved. I've really fucked 10,000 alligators. At this moment, countless cultivators were stunned. They looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief, as if they were looking at a monster. Kong Teichu was going too far. You killed his woman, and now you want to take his Dharma treasures. That's too much. Why don't you go rob someone? If Lu Fei were still alive, she would have shouted. Unfortunately, her divine soul had already been destroyed by Jiang Tian. Only on Jiang Tian's side, Qi Liqui, Ao Jiao, and the others felt incomparably delighted. Kumu and the other higher realm cultivators always came to their world to kill people and steal their treasures. It was as if they had entered an uninhabited land. However, if there was any resistance, they would immediately be killed and their families wiped out. This time they would have a taste of what it was like to be robbed. Fairy Yao Yu covered her mouth and giggled. This brat is quite an interesting person. However, Brother Xu Jian is even more interesting. As you expected, this battle is unavoidable. Interesting? He will die today. Wu Shujian mocked. He doesn't know how powerful Heavenly Lord Deadwood is. Heavenly Lord Deadwood only backed down because he's old and doesn't know how to fight. But he's not weak at all. If they really fight, Kong Teichu won't be able to defeat him. He said with certainty. Brat, aren't you being too overbearing? Chancellor Kumu squinted his eyes, and a bright light shot out from his eyes. His body suddenly straightened, and the originally sloppy and wretched feeling instantly disappeared without a trace. What replaced it was an incomparably vast and deep nascent soul aura pressure. You may have killed many nascent soul heavenly lords from the Jade Lake and the Hylon heavenly lords, but the cultivation arts they practice were incomplete, and they sense the wrong laws of heaven. They can't be compared to me. Many cultivators from the lower world were shocked and couldn't believe it. What does he mean? Why do you say that my heavenly Tao laws are wrong and incomplete? Chapter 1436. Even Long Shengnan revealed a puzzled expression. She had heard Long Baxia mention that before, but he would not tell her the details, as if it was a taboo. I understand what you're saying. Jiang Tian smiled and said casually. The immortal ruins were once close to the immortal ruins. Back then, there were many worlds in the ruins of immortality that were originally near the ancient Earth. The ancient sages pushed those worlds across 4 light years and billions of kilometers into the South Gate Galaxy. The trajectories of the stars and the constellations in the Milky Way changed slightly. The spirit chi of heaven and earth was also different from before. As the saying goes, Tao follows nature. Cultivation is about taking the creation of heaven and earth and making use of nature. The environment has changed, but they're still using the original cultivation arts. Of course, they're backward and incomplete, unable to mobilize the spirit chi of heaven and earth and activate the laws of heaven and earth. But the descendants of the Ruins Emperor, like the 100 Moon Academy, are different. The Ruins Emperor was a native of the Twin Stars by the Southern Gate to begin with. What you cultivate in is also a cultivation technique that the Ruins Emperor left behind. It is compatible with the great Tao of heaven and earth and resonates with it. Naturally, you can borrow the heaven and earth powers to the greatest extent, allowing you to crush other worlds. That's not obvious for Golden Core perfected cultivators. Golden Core cultivators can only attack with their Dharma form, but it's especially obvious for nascent soul heavenly lords and soul formation grand cultivators. That's because Dharma laws and great Tao come from nature. That's one of the reasons why Emperor Sheng, Zhongli Ao Emperor and the other ancient sages couldn't defeat the Ruins Emperor back then. Soul formation cultivators had already abandoned spirit stones and absorbed the energy of the universe of a higher level to be strengthened by heaven and earth, becoming acquired gods. To put it simply, their power came from the constellation galaxy. These changes in the environment were fatal to a divine transformation cultivator. They had to change their cultivation arts, or their cultivation would only be 1/10 of their original level. This kid is really a monster. You even understand this point and have thought it through. Hearing that, Qin Shuang was shocked and his face changed. Even Chancellor Kumu was shocked and couldn't believe it. Long Shengnan was also surprised. Is it not because our bloodline is inferior to the Ruins Emperors, but because our cultivation arts are not as compatible with heaven and earth as theirs? If that's the case, do you still want to be my enemy? Deadwood Sovereign took a step forward. Almost unimaginably terrifying ripples spread out from his body like ripples. At first, it was still very small. His sleeves were fluttering, and no one felt any discomfort. But in the blink of an eye, it became bigger and bigger, and a huge pressure descended from the sky. Rumble. Everyone felt as if there were mountains pressing down on them. Even a nascent soul cultivator like Long Shengnan would not be able to withstand it. In the void, the sound of countless chains of law being torn apart could be heard. A terrifying shadow rushed out from behind Lord Dried Wood. It was a withered giant tree. The giant tree was several thousand feet tall, and it seemed to be able to pierce through the heavens. The withered giant tree was pitch black and heavy, as if it was forged from iron. It flickered with a frightening cold light, and countless branches of various shapes and sizes shot out from the sides. Some were like halberds, some were like sharp swords, and some were like heavenly blades. They were indestructible and unstoppable. A bloodthirsty aura of slaughter descended from the heavens. With a plop, countless golden core cultivators knelt on the ground. Even Long Shengnan was shocked. She felt a power of law and looked up with difficulty. This tree is much more powerful than Azure Tharchchen's green jade tree. It was a spirit tree planted by Jiao Rui, the second emperor of the Ao Emperor's era. It has a lifespan of 10,000 years, and is born with a protective divine power. Its body is so strong that not even a supreme-grade true artifact can hurt it. It became the right-hand man of the nine-headed dragon emperor. Heavenly Lord Deadwood straightened his body, and his unkempt look completely disappeared. He was full of energy, and a powerful pressure of law was released. At this moment, his face was filled with arrogance. Only now did he reveal the great divine ability of the 100 Moons Academy's chancellor, and the overwhelming majesty of an unparalleled heavenly monarch. He cracked a vicious smile and said, "In the end, it was captured by the Emperor of the Ruins during the battle for the deity ground. It was refined by the Emperor of the Ruins for thousands of years, and was finally made into a supreme-grade true artifact. The Emperor of the Ruins gave it to me when I became the Chancellor of the 100 Moons Academy. I refined it for thousands of years and combined it with my golden core. Over the past few hundred years, there were at least 17 nascent soul cultivators and beast cultivators who died under this tree, if not 20. Do you really want to make things difficult for me? Roar!" A human face appeared in the center of the trunk of the giant tree behind him. Its crimson-red eyes stared fixedly at Jiang Tian. It opened its mouth and roared, emitting an endless smell of blood. It was extremely terrifying. Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Even Long Shengnan exclaimed, and Long Pejuan was enraged. Legend had it that the migration of the deity ground to the South Gate Twin Stars took a long time. Not even soul formation grand cultivators could survive that long. The name Ao Emperor actually referred to a dynasty, an era when grand cultivators of the monsters became the main force. It didn't just refer to an ancient emperor, or Ao Emperor himself. Ao Emperor's real name was Ao Wuchang. After Emperor Sheng passed the throne to Zhongli and Emperor Zhongli, he had once destroyed the path of heaven and earth with a slash of his sword. He had also realized the interstellar wandering of the deity ground, and migrated to the South Gate Twin Stars galaxy. But during Ao Emperor's time, he had many successors and a few emperors of the monsters. Most of the time, Ao Wuchang would go into hibernation to preserve his energy and power, prolonging his life. It was like hibernation during a space voyage. As for the nine-headed dragon emperor Jiao Rui, he was a famous and powerful emperor successor, and was the representative appointed by the Ao sovereign himself. Rumor had it that he was extremely talented, and his bloodline wasn't much weaker than Ao Wuchang's. During the long journey in the universe, he had once fought his way into the void with only his physical body, crossed tens of thousands of miles, and fought against extremely brutal and unknown creatures. He had once killed dozens of divine transformation realm giants, and destroyed an ancient starship by himself. His battle achievements were glorious. That battle had shocked the world. That battle had shocked an entire era. After the deity ground entered the orbit of the Southgate Twin Stars, the natives of the Southgate Twin Stars, including the Ruins Emperor, suddenly attacked and started a shocking battle with the natives of the deity ground. That was an era of great changes. Everything was unstable. The deity ground had entered a strange environment after billions of miles of voyage. The trajectories of the planets had changed, and the constellation galaxy was completely different from what it used to be. Besides, the spirit chi was greatly consumed during the voyage. The planets that had entered the orbit had braked and changed direction, causing the world to change drastically. Mulberry fields turned into oceans, trenches rose into volcanoes, countless continents collapsed and earthquakes lasted for hundreds of days. For the natives of the deity ground who had just arrived in the Southgate Galaxy, that era was called the Era of Lack of Tao. All the cultivators were affected, like tourists who couldn't get used to a foreign place. The divine powers of the natives of the deity ground were already unnatural and extremely difficult. Their strength had been reduced to a tenth of what it used to be, and they could only fight with their bodies. They were almost unable to use Dharma forms, divine powers, forbidden regions and territories. It was said that Emperor Zhongli had already gone missing at that time. Ao Emperor and many other emperors didn't wake up, which was caused by the great changes in the world. Even the awakening arrays had collapsed. Jiao Rui, the nine-headed dragon emperor, was the only one who woke up. He was extremely lonely and surrounded by countless overlords, but he wasn't scared at all. He fought the Ruins Emperor and many other super overlords alone, successfully killing more than 30 soul formation overlords and severely injuring his enemies. Even though he failed on the verge of success, he was still remembered by later generations. His name was passed down through the ages. Even now, mentioning it was still an unmatched taboo in the great ruins of immortality. The ancient tree of Heavenly Lord Deadwood was a spirit tree planted by the ancient Saint Jiao Rui himself. How terrifying would a tree demon that had been carefully cultivated be? Besides, after being refined by the Ruins Emperor and Heavenly Lord Deadwood, its divine powers were unimaginably powerful. When Long Shengnan and Long Pejuan finished telling them everything they knew, everyone felt a chill run down their spines. Chapter 1437. Senior Grand Primordium. Even Qi Liqui shouted anxiously. He thought to himself, why don't we just forget about it? Even if we win against such a terrifying old monster, we will only suffer great losses. Today Jiang Tian had forced him to hand over his lover, Lu Fei, and he had killed her with a single palm strike. That was enough for him to look down on the world. Even if Jiang Tian retreated now, he would not lose any of his prestige. There was no need to take the risk. At that moment, Deadwood Heavenly Lord softened his tone and said sincerely, Kong Teichu, I don't want to kill you either. You are extremely talented and I admire you very much. If you admit your mistakes now, I will put in a good word for you before the Ruins Emperor. We can call a truce and let bygones be bygones. I can even recommend you to join the 100 Moons Academy. At that moment, even Ao Jiao and the others were tempted. After all, the chances of Jiang Tian winning against Deadwood Heavenly Lord were not high. What kind of trash is the 100 Moons Academy? And what kind of bullshit is the Ruins Emperor? I don't care about any of that. So what if I want to be your enemy today? Jiang Tian put his hands behind his back and took a step forward. At that moment he did not release his Dharma form. His divine aura was restrained and he was less than 2 meters tall. Under the Deadwood Dharma form that was thousands of feet tall, he was as tiny as an ant. Kong Teichu, you are just an abandoned person of the wasteland. I respect your talent, and that's why I called you fellow Taoist. If I don't respect you, you will be nothing more than an ant that I can easily crush. I've said everything I can, but you still don't know what's good for you. Alright, you have successfully infuriated me. Kong Teichu, it's time for you to die. Deadwood Heavenly Lord's hair and beard flared up. His eyes were almost spewing fire as he roared angrily. His last sentence was spat out one word at a time. He indeed did not want to fight. He was already old and had both reputation and status. All he wanted was to reach the top of the soul formation realm and extend his lifespan. He did not want to fight to the death with a hothead like Jiang Tian. It was too risky and not worth it. However, Jiang Tian's overbearingness caused anger to rise in his heart, and his killing intent to soar. He was a dignified living fossil of the desert world, the old chancellor of 100 Moon Academy. In the past, he was awe-inspiring even in the ruins of immortality, and he was able to talk with numerous gods as equals. When had he ever suffered such provocation and disrespect? You talk too much. Jiang Tian's face was indifferent. His right hand, which was behind his back, slowly clenched into a fist and suddenly punched out. Rumble. 9 spinning galaxies appeared behind Jiang Tian's back. Then it spun rapidly. Boundless magical power poured into Jiang Tian's fist. At that moment, a terrifying golden light erupted from Jiang Tian's fist, illuminating everything within 100 miles. It was as if a sun had lit up. Every blade of grass and every tree could be seen. Every mountain and rock reflected a dazzling white light, blinding many cultivators for a moment. Clang! Heaven and earth collapsed, and the sun and moon hung upside down. The void exploded. Layers of astral winds, vast magical power, and countless nomological chains were all destroyed by Jiang Tian's fist. A 3-mile-wide hole appeared in the void. It was pitch black. The gung metal nomological laws roared. Vast vital energy, with an undying charm, was sacred and dazzling. It swept through the entire rushing current valley, causing wind and thunder to surge and the earth to shake. Gung metal divine fist. Powered by the 9 galaxy-like golden cores of the divine disk, it gathered on the gung metal immortal body. One punch could shatter mountains and rivers, and one strike could split continents. Even the stars in the sky trembled. This was a truly immortal fist art. It was unstoppable and destroyed everything in its path. It could be called a god-level cultivation technique. It was supreme and far surpassed all immortal cultivation techniques. If Jiang Tian cultivated this fist art to the extreme, it would be easy for him to shatter a small planet. Its power was terrifying beyond compare. Boom! Seeing Jiang Tian's fist coming, Heavenly Lord Deadwood was also alarmed. The Deadwood Dharma form stepped forward and blocked the fist energy. However, the Dharma idol of the dead tree only lasted for half a second before it exploded with a loud bang. The terrifying fist energy pierced through the sky like a missile, leaving a long golden shadow behind. It crossed 10 miles and was about to hit Perfected Lord Deadwood. Oh no! Perfected Cultivator Kumu's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Thousands of rays of light shot out of his protective true treasures, forming a colorful shield. However, he was immediately blasted 10 miles away by Jiang Tian's fist force. He forcefully blasted 5 or 6 mountains before coming to a stop. SDTH. At that moment, the thousands of cultivators within a radius of a few dozen kilometers were silent like cicadas in winter, and the sound of them inhaling cold breaths rose and fell one after another. The power of this punch is truly terrifying. This is a demon transformed from an ancient spiritual tree. After being refined by the 9-headed Dragon King, Ao Emperor, and the Deadwood Lord, it finally evolved to the extreme and became the golden core Dharma form of the Deadwood Lord. Yet it still couldn't withstand the power of his punch. Terrifying. It's too terrifying. Only at this moment did everyone realize why Jiang Tian was so overbearing and refused to budge. It turned out that he really had something to rely on. One had to know that this tree demon originally had a thick and indestructible skin. Even a true treasure could not harm it. After countless years of refinement, it was simply the toughest thing in the world. Enough to fight against a half-stepped Dao treasure. And yet it was destroyed by Jiang Tian's punch. That was surprising. Jiang Tian didn't even use his Dharma form. He only used part of his Dharma power. Oh God! It turns out that he didn't even use his full strength on the 18 island. He only used it to strengthen his body. Even Long Shengnan was stunned. She knew that Jiang Tian was very strong. His performance on the 18 island had already frightened her. After all, he had killed more than 20 nascent soul heavenly monarchs alone. But now, she was sure that Jiang Tian didn't use his full strength on the 18 island. He was even more powerful than she had seen before. It seemed that he could reach the limit without any limit. Brother Shujian, he's so powerful. He seems to be more powerful than we thought. His divine powers are flawless and natural. Fairy Yaoyu's beautiful eyes widened in disbelief and astonishment. Such strength was probably comparable to the top elites on the God of War list. He was at least on the same level as Heavenly Lord Deadwood. It wasn't like what Wu Shujian said before, where Jiang Tian couldn't even withstand a single blow, and would be suppressed by Deadwood's sovereign. How can his divine powers be so perfect? How can he manipulate the laws so easily? Wu Shujian was also surprised, but he didn't have time to think about it. He said with disdain, "He's in big trouble." Chancellor Deadwood isn't that easy to deal with. After all, he came from a higher world and had cultivated in 100 Moons Academy before. To put it more broadly, Chancellor Kumu could be considered his teacher and senior. On top of that, he had also misjudged Jiang Tian's punch. Wasn't this punch of Jiang Tian's also landing on his face? Boom. In the distance, rubble pierced through the sky. Qi surged like a bull. Boundless and vast miasma surged like a tide. A black shadow tore through the sky with a loud rumble, dragging a long tail behind it as it descended from the sky. Heavenly Lord Deadwood's clothes were torn, but his chest wasn't stained with blood and he wasn't injured. Little bastard, you've completely infuriated me. Today, I'm going to cut you into pieces and crush you inch by inch. Heavenly Lord Deadwood's face was twisted as he shouted angrily. This time, he was extremely angry. You only know how to talk. What's so great about a chancellor? In the end, you were still sent flying by my punch. Next time, I'm going to hit your face and let you know pain. Jiang Tian mocked him as if he was looking at an ant. Brat, how dare you? Heavenly Lord Deadwood shouted angrily. At this moment, everyone felt that his spirit embryo was like a dormant volcano that suddenly erupted. The nascent soul in the shape of a tree man roared, and the sound shook 1,000 miles. Boom. Chi-chi-chi. A chilling black deadwood aura gushed out from his spirit embryo. Even his hair and beard were dyed black. His deep eyes were even filled with thunder. His hands moved and evolved the law of Deadwood. It was filled with the charm of nature, far surpassing the incomplete law of an ordinary nascent soul. Dharma, self and one. Heavenly Lord Deadwood shouted. The Dharma of Deadwood merged with his body and gradually turned into the shape of an extremely terrifying tree man. This tree man was 3,000 feet tall. Its body was covered with fibrous muscles like an old tree that was intertwined with dragons. Its skin was rough and its flesh was thick. It was strong and its deep eyes were emitting green light, making it look like a demon. The ancient demon abyss was dead silent. Countless living beings felt their hearts tremble. Chapter 1438. At this moment, Heavenly Lord Kumu soared into the sky, surrounded by a silk-like blue-black aura. He was like a god descending. His aura was 10 times or even 100 times more powerful than Emperor Qingqing's. It was like the Milky Way pouring down to the earth. Countless cultivators and ferocious demonic beasts within a radius of 1,000 miles all prostrated themselves on the ground, trembling in fear. Among the cultivators from the lower worlds, only Mingyi Takong, Long Pajuan, Qi Liqui and a few others were able to hold on. Dharma unity. This is the way a top nascent soul cultivator fights. Kong Teichu is in danger this time. Long Shengnan turned pale and looked serious. Dharma powers were unleashed at the Golden Core stage. For both nascent soul and Golden Core adepts, Dharma powers were the greatest weapons. When a Dharma form left the body, the Dharma power would be strengthened. However, as long as the Dharma form didn't merge with the body, it wouldn't be dangerous. The destruction of the Dharma form would only damage part of the Golden Core cultivator's true essence and Dharma power. Once the Dharma and self were fused as one spirit, nascent soul, divine ability, Dharma power, flesh, blood, and many other factors would be twisted into a rope. As the limit was strengthened, one's battle prowess would be boosted and improved by tens or even hundreds of times. But there were also disadvantages. Once the Dharma unity was used, it would affect everything and there would be no chance for him to escape. The Dharma unity and the nascent soul explosion were the most powerful attacks of nascent soul cultivators. Once they were used, they were comparable to soul formation cultivators, and could also injure soul formation cultivators. The nascent soul explosion was usually used when a heavenly lord was forced into a corner, and he would drag his enemy to hell. The Dharma unity was more aggressive, and it wasn't used only when he was in a desperate situation. It was only used to kill the enemy. Grandpa is angry. Qin Shuang's grandson waved his wrist, and the golden bell disappeared into the sky. He stuck out his tongue. Kong Teichu is so powerful. He forced Heavenly Lord Kumu to use the secret art of the Dharma unity. Tsk tisk. Qin Shuang sized Jiang Tian up with a cold glitter in his eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. Does he have to be so crazy? Even Yao Yu Fairy and Wu Shujian were shocked. They didn't expect Deadwood Heavenly Lord to be so resolute. Little bastard, I'll show you the power of the flawless laws of the ruins of immortality. I'll show you how terrifying a real nascent soul Heavenly Lord is. Deadwood's sovereign shouted. His voice was like rolling thunder, as if it came from the 9 heavens. His figure stretched across the abyss. Endless black light covered a radius of 1,000 miles, sweeping away all the miasma and fog. It was clearly visible from the Black Crystal City, attracting countless cultivators to watch the battle from the sky. A deity from the upper realm has descended to the lower realm. He collided with Kong Teichu. Good heavens! A world-shaking battle. For thousands of years, our Angel world hasn't had such a terrifying battle. Report this to His Majesty Qi Jiui of the Kangwu Palace. He's already here. Many cultivators were horrified. They watched without blinking and communicated with their divine senses. They were all terrified. Such power was too shocking. The power of one person filled half of the ancient demon abyss. No one could ignore it. This was a terrifying thing. The old chancellor of the 100 Moons Academy, a veteran nascent soul cultivator, who had inherited the complete cultivation techniques of the ruins of immortality, had come to explore the ancient demon abyss, and started a huge battle with the nascent soul cultivator Kong Teichu. Ancestors, please bless us. The Grand Primordium Heavenly Lord will be undefeated. The Kangwu Phoenix clan will have a long history, and our descendants will have great achievements. This world will be peaceful, and the flames of war will never rise. The people of this world will be safe, and they will not suffer. Qi Jiui's eyes were filled with panic. Then he closed his eyes and knelt on the ground. He kowtowed 3 times and bowed 9 times. He looked at the sky and prayed sincerely. Please bless the Grand Primordium Heavenly Lord, and make him undefeated. He will kill the alien cultivators and return peace to the Angel world. Many princes, princesses, nobles, ministers, sect leaders and family leaders also knelt and prayed for Jiang Tian. Qi Jiui was very surprised and helpless. He did not expect that even though he had closed many world hole teleportation designs, there would still be powerful cultivators from the upper world entering the upper world through some unknown ancient teleportation designs. He had just pledged allegiance to Jiang Tian when Kumu and company arrived. They were too fast and caught him off guard. Kumu, Qinshuang, and other powerful cultivators from the upper world had received the favor and support of the ruins Emperor's palace. They had vested interests and were naturally loyal to the ruins Emperor. Once Jiang Tian perished, they could kill him for defecting. The ruins Emperor would probably reward them handsomely. Although he was anxious, there was nothing he could do to help in the battle between Jiang Tian and Kumu. In front of the unparalleled Heavenly Lord, he was just a nascent soul realm cultivator. He was like a 3-year-old child who could not withstand a single blow. He could only pray. Beside the rushing current valley, divine might surged. Endless withered wood laws intertwined and lingered. Billowing black wood aura was as thick as lead clouds. It blotted out the sky and suppressed half of the ancient demon abyss. It was so oppressive that it was suffocating. Facing Kumu's overwhelming might, Jiang Tian showed no fear. He slashed across the sky and condensed a 10,000-foot-long gunmetal saber. His fighting spirit surged as he slashed across the sky with the saber in hand. Dai Yu Ant. This time, Kumu's Dharma body stepped forward. He raised his gigantic tree hand that blotted out the sky and grabbed at Jiang Tian. He wanted to crush Jiang Tian and his saber to smithereens. The pitch-black gigantic hand clashed with the gunmetal saber, causing an incomparably violent shockwave to erupt. The black withered wood aura and the mighty gunmetal quintessential essence stirred up a billowing shockwave that spread for thousands of miles, and even tens of thousands of miles. It swept through the entire ancient demon abyss. The violent shockwave left the cultivators in Black Crystal City shuddering in fear. Clang! 3 of Kumu's tree-like fingers were broken. But the gunmetal saber also exploded after holding on for 3 seconds. This is a real nascent soul realm cultivator. This is a flawless Dharma law. It's just so. Jiang Tianzong laughed. His desire to battle was overflowing. The giant will spun behind him, growing and multiplying endlessly. It was dazzling. Every slash from Jiang Tian was infused with the power of the 9 galaxy-like golden cores in the divine disk, including the Taoyes essence restoration, and the Gung metal immortal golden cores that had formed their nascent souls. It was equivalent to 2 nascent soul realm cultivators and 7 golden core realm cultivators working together. And they were all divine-grade golden cores. Fortunately, Kumu was using a complete cultivation technique from the Ruins Emperor that belonged to the South Gate Galaxy. He was able to use the spirit chi of heaven and earth around him at all times. He was much stronger than ordinary nascent soul realm cultivators, and was in the state of Dharma and unity. His fighting power was increased tenfold, far surpassing grand cultivators like Emperor Chunqing and Long Luo. He was close to the soul formation realm. Otherwise, he would have been killed by Jiang Tian's slash. But even then, he was still slashed repeatedly by Jiang Tian to the point of retreating repeatedly, and he was in dire straits while numerous deep saber marks appeared on his body. 15 minutes. I'll destroy your body and soul. Jiang Tian sneered. Heavenly Lord Kumu was indeed powerful. After all, he had been refined in the 100 Moon Academy, and was much stronger than normal nascent soul realm cultivators like Emperor Chunqing and Long Luo. His cultivation art was also from the twin stars of the South Gate. Compared to the old cultivation arts from the ancient earth and the ancient deity land that Emperor Chunqing practiced, it was more compatible with the world, and he could use Dharma laws more easily. However, Jiang Tian's cultivation art was a divine-grade cultivation art, or a real deity art. It contained the highest Tao and truth, which was applicable everywhere. So, it wasn't affected by the change of environment and the change of the galaxy at all. The most obvious thing was that Jiang Tian hadn't even used his Dharma form. He had only used 20% of his power, but he was still able to suppress Heavenly Lord Kumu, which meant that Jiang Tian was in an advantageous position. Kid, don't be smug. Perfected Lord Kumu shouted furiously. The wood element aura in an area of 500 kilometers was brazenly drawn away by him, and it condensed into shields, spears, and chains of the laws of withered wood in the air. They were densely packed and innumerable, and they enveloped an area of 50 kilometers in the sky. He stood proudly within them, and his magic power was like an abyss that filled the entire area. Kill! 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 Jiang Tian didn't care about any of that. He pushed the gung metal blade to the extreme and slashed the sky and the ground. The dimension was shattered by Jiang Tian. None of the wood elemental laws could stop Jiang Tian. No matter what kind of magical power or law true Lord Kumu used, he couldn't block Jiang Tian's world-destroying saber strike. In the end, Heavenly Lord Kumu was truly enraged. His entire body was like a world tree, holding up the world. He suddenly stopped, his face cold to the extreme as he stood proudly in the void. In that instant, it was as if the world around him had disappeared. In the vast expanse of the sky, he was the creator. He was the only god. Forbidden land. Heavenly Lord Kumu said slowly. Boom. All the air, Dharma power, fiend chi, wind, clouds, grass and wood within a 100-mile radius suddenly stopped, as if time had stopped. Only Chun Fan and Luo Changshan could move. The others were frozen. The Forbidden Land. A peerless divine power of a nascent soul cultivator. But when Heavenly Lord Kumu used it, it was more than a few times more powerful than any other nascent soul Heavenly Lord. Chapter 1439. Laws. Heavenly Lord Kumu yelled again. In the air, the laws of withered wood had completely solidified. They were pitch black like chains, crushing the space and wrapping around Jiang Tian. Those laws were the order of the Grand Tao and the axioms of the universe. They were invisible and ordinary people couldn't touch them. Only nascent soul cultivators could feel them. Even if they only controlled one law, they would be on par with the world. Nascent soul cultivators could be called heavenly lords. The tribulation for nascent soul cultivators was also a punishment caused by those laws. It was a terrifying taboo. But now, the moment the dried wood Heavenly Lord opened his mouth, he was able to condense the laws into substance and manifest them. Such might was terrifying to the extreme. But that wasn't the end. Kumu locked the sky. The Deadwood Lord of Heaven's expression turned solemn. His sleeves fluttered as he continuously made a few mysterious finger gestures. Then he pointed at Jiang Tian in the air. Countless black chains flashed with a black light in the sky. They were extremely cold and heavy, full of inviolable sacred power. They were formed by endless laws and sealing power, and were almost indestructible. Then, the Deadwood Lord of Heaven pointed in the air, and the many black chains of law instantly disappeared. The next moment, they appeared around Jiang Tian like giant pythons coiling around him. Like dancing tentacles, they instantly locked Jiang Tian's limbs and bones. Boom! Jiang Tian activated the divine disc and the golden energy shot into the sky, trying to break the chains, but he didn't succeed. The Dharma laws and restrictions even made him lose his Dharma power for a short while. He fell to the ground like a meteorite, creating a deep pit. Taichu Heavenly Lord! Master! At that moment, Bai Zai, Mingyi and Ta Kong yelled. What's going on? Qi Likui, Ao Jiao, and the other girls turned pale. This is the supreme saint art of the 100 Moon Academy, which can overlook the ruins of deity and shock thousands of sections. It's extremely powerful. I heard that even the peak stage nascent soul cultivators from the Star Ocean, who have been wandering the universe for thousands of years, can't even struggle once they're suppressed by such a saint art. All of your divine abilities, spells, and even your innate bloodline power will be sealed, and you'll be at the mercy of others. Wu Shujian's eyes were focused, and his face was filled with fear. He slowly exhaled and said in a deep voice, "The older the ginger, the spicier it is." Fairy Yaoyu's expression changed drastically. Her beautiful eyes were filled with shock, and even her delicate body was trembling slightly. Jiang Tian's strength and his peerless demeanor when he killed so many nascent soul heavenly lords on the 18 Island had left a deep impression on her. However, such a powerful Kong Taichu was actually no match for Deadwood Sovereign's nomological technique. He tapped lightly. This Chancellor Withered Tree is indeed overbearing and tyrannical. Even Wu Shujian revealed a look of deep fear, and he was also a little surprised. This Chancellor Kumu had always been wretched and sloppy, indulging in women and dual cultivation. Many people felt that it was hard for him to live up to his reputation, and even Wu Shujian despised him in his heart. But now he finally understood. All of this was just his protective facade. He was unwilling to reveal his true strength, and it was due to his cautious nature. Little bastard. What else do you have to say now? Heavenly Lord Deadwood snickered. He stepped on the world and the sun, the moon and the stars were above his head. He said with disdain, "I'm old and I don't want to take risks. I don't want to fight with a reckless young man like you, but why do you have to be so aggressive? I've already given up Lu Fei for you to do whatever you want with her, and you still want my Dharma treasure? You want to rob me? Why don't you take a look in the mirror? Do you think you're worthy? You'll always be an abandoned person from the lower worlds, an ant and a cockroach looking for leftovers in the garbage dump. You're defying the laws of heaven by offending me. The complete cultivation art of the ruins of deity is so powerful. I'm afraid you've never thought of it, and can't even imagine it. You're also a genius. If you accept my offer and join the 100 Moons Academy, you'll be able to reach the top of the soul formation level after 100 years of cultivation. Even this old man will have to admit defeat. Unfortunately, you're too arrogant. You rejected me, and because of a single mistake, you actually fell into such a miserable state." He seemed to be regretful, but his eyes were cold and full of killing intent. In fact, he never really wanted to recommend Jiang Tian to the 100 Moons Academy. He just didn't want to fight with Jiang Tian and take risks. "Let go of my master." In an instant, Bai Zai, Ancestral Patriarch Takong, Mingyi Long Pajuan, the cowardly black dog, and even Qi Likui and Ao Jiao, who were obviously weaker, roared at the same time. They turned into beams of light and flashed across the sky like moths to a flame. They unleashed their Dharma forms and charged towards Heavenly Lord Deadwood, trying to save Jiang Tian. "Piss off!" He shouted angrily and waved his hand. A giant hand like a tree branch covered the sky, and the energy of the forbidden region crushed the dimension. A loud bang was heard. Bai Zai and the others were sent flying like ragdolls. Their Dharma forms were shattered and their Dharma laws couldn't withstand a single blow. Everyone was covered in blood, and their bones were broken. They couldn't stand up anymore and fell to the ground. Kill. Children, let's go. Long Pejuan's body was strong. Even though his arm was broken, he still roared and charged forward with his spear. Arg! Many demonic beasts roared as they prostrated themselves on the ground. Then they shot up, wanting to charge forward as well. Die. Heavenly Lord Deadwood didn't even look at them and stomped his foot. The Forbidden Region formed a chaotic dimensional field and cut everything to pieces. Thousands of monsters that could flatten mountains and break the ground were instantly turned into a pile of meat. Almost all of them died. Their attacks gave Jiang Tian 3 finger flicks of time. But it was enough. Jiang Tian roared and shot up. The divine disc spun and his dantian rumbled. His body let out countless beams of golden aura, and seemed to be made of divine gold. As he struggled, many of the withered wood law chains began to emit explosive crackling sounds, as if they were about to break apart. Seeing that Jiang Tian was about to break free from the chains of law and tear open the Forbidden Region, everyone was overjoyed and let out a sigh of relief. No one would have thought that at this most important moment, Qin Shuang, who had been watching from the sidelines as if he had nothing to do with the matter, would suddenly attack without declaring war. Frost long sky, freeze bone. Qin Shuang suddenly waved his hand, and an extremely cold energy enveloped Jiang Tian, as if it had come from the depths of hell. The law of frost. Jiang Tian's body instantly froze. Even the spinning speed of the 10-meter-long divine disc suddenly slowed down. His entire body, face, and eyebrows were instantly covered in white frost. Extremely thin ice spikes attached to his skin, and pierced through the wind, and all the Dharma power defenses. They pierced into Jiang Tian's body like needles, and started to imprison Jiang Tian's true essence and Dharma power. These were not ordinary frost thorns, but the manifestation of the laws. They were extremely sinister and vicious. Once they were used, they could kill a golden core cultivator in a second and freeze and control a normal nascent soul heavenly lord. Shameless. How dare you sneak attack us? What kind of senior are you? Ao Jiao and Qi Liqui yelled. Haha, Kong Teichu is just an ant in the mortal world. He's no match for my grandma. Well. His golden core can help me enter the nascent soul level. Qin Shuang's grandson emerged from the void bell. He clapped his hands with an arrogant and smug look. Ao Jiao and Qi Liqui, come here and be my child brides. I'll take good care of you tonight. He seemed to be young, but that was only his appearance. His real age was at least 100 years old. Then, he revealed his true nature, which was greasy and greedy. He didn't look childish and cute at all. Good. Sister Qin Shuang intervened in time. Wonderful. Heavenly Lord Kumu burst into laughter and stomped his foot. It was as if a mountain was pressing down. Clang. Jiang Tian was trampled until he sank into the ground, disappearing without a trace. He smashed open a 10-li-long gully, as if it was a canyon. Master. Senior. Bai Zhe and the others yelled. Ao Jiao and Qi Liqui turned pale and tears ran down their cheeks. They were worried and regretful. At the moment, they had been beaten up badly. Everyone was bleeding and their bones were broken. Even their Dantian spirit embryo was severely injured. Their Dharma power was unstable, and they were on the verge of death. Moreover, what the Driedwood Sovereign had used was not an ordinary attack, but a high-level restrictive power. Vast power of law had been lingering around the wound, circulating endlessly to open the wound. Even Mingi and Long Pejuan couldn't use Dharma power to reform their bodies. They would be exhausted to death, not to mention Qi Liqui and Ao Jiao. However, they still shouted angrily, and used the last of their magic power to fly toward the Deadwood Sovereign. Bang! A beam of golden light that connected heaven and earth soared out from the center of the earth. Half of Jiang Tian's body was covered in cracks, but he had already broken many of the frost and deadwood chains. However, he was still as fierce as before. He didn't seem weaker at all. He's not dead. How is that possible? Qin Shuang was shocked and couldn't believe it. Chapter 1440. He's not dead. Even Fairy Yaoyu and Wu Shujian were taken aback. Heavenly Lord Deadwood and Qin Shujian had used all their strength, and the laws they controlled were so powerful that not even a soul formation cultivator could withstand it. They thought they didn't need to do anything anymore. Jiang Tian was dead for sure. They had never thought that Kong Teichu would survive and get rid of the chains. His bloodline is special and his body is extremely strong. But he won't be so lucky this time. Qin Shuang, we've gained a lot this time. His golden core is extraordinary. If it's made into a peerless heavenly pill, we'll be able to enter the soul formation level immediately and fulfill our wish. The Deadwood Heavenly Lord, Faohui, was tall and majestic like a deity. His eyes were filled with greed as he looked down at Jiang Tian. His cold voice was like rolling thunder. What a great thing! Qin Shuang couldn't believe it either. Ecstasy appeared on his face, and it was extremely intense. It was already a great fortune to get the treasure of the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor. But it might not help them enter the soul formation level. And yet, that kid's golden core could. Soul formation level. That was the supreme level that old nascent soul cultivators like them were pursuing. Once they entered the soul formation level, their lifespan would be extended to 10,000 years. They would also be able to understand the laws of the world and receive the support of the heavenly fate. They would be able to go beyond the universe and resonate with the universe. They would be like gods in the human world, belonging to another level of life. You must die today. Mingyi burned half an incense stick. Jiang Tian looked up at the two in the sky with a serious face. Two beams of murderous light shot out of his eyes. He hadn't used all his strength just then. In order to refine his gung metal immortal constitution, he had only used his true essence to attack. He didn't even use his Dharma form, let alone Dharma laws and forbidden areas. But he had never thought that he would be so severely injured this time. Of course, this was in the case of Qin Shuang suddenly attacking. However, this was still something that he could not tolerate. In the past, he Kong Teichu roamed the starry sky, killing immortal venerables and god kings. He was invincible in both the immortal world and the divine world. But now, it had been severely injured by two nascent soul cultivators, and two weaklings from a desolate planet like the ruins of immortality. Intolerable. What? Killing two peerless heavenly lords and experienced nascent soul cultivators in half an hour? Don't dream about it. Fairy Yao Yu's robe was purer than snow. She looked otherworldly, and there was a mocking smile on her face. He's going to use his full strength. Wu Shujian, on the other hand, stared fixedly at Jiang Tian. His expression was very serious, unwilling to let go of a single detail. Yes. He wanted to learn from the life and death battle between Jiang Tian and the two seasoned nascent soul stage cultivators. He thought about it and found it ridiculous sometimes. In the past, Jiang Tian was just an ant in the lower worlds. He wouldn't even look at him. But then, after witnessing Jiang Tian's two battles, he had to accept the reality. Jiang Tian was much better than him in many aspects. He was even comparable to Qing Aojuan and Luo Changshan, who were ranked at the top of the God of War roll. Old bastard, old bitch, go to hell. As soon as Jiang Tian stepped on the air, the space within a 10-mile radius collapsed. With his feet as a circle, many black spatial cracks spread out in all directions, like black snakes slithering around and wriggling around. Borrowing the recoil force of the space, Jiang Tian soared into the sky like a dragon. The divine will spun, and the Kuan Prung moved at extreme speed. Like a comet piercing through the sun, he traversed 100 miles in the blink of an eye. The law of gung metal condensed into a peerless heavenly saber and slashed down. How terrifying was Jiang Tian's laws of metal! They came from a divine-level cultivation art, and were born from the gung metal immortal body. In other words, Jiang Tian's laws of metal could kill all deities or divine princes at the same level. Even in the central galaxy, the deity realm and the divine realm, where cultivation civilizations were flourishing and talents were abundant. His laws of metal were close to the Grand Tao. They were supreme and flawless. Even on remote planets and barren lands, they wouldn't be affected at all. Jiang Tian could even kill divine princes and nascent soul stage cultivators, not to mention Kumu and Qin Shuang. In fact, everyone felt that Jiang Tian's slash was extremely powerful. Such perfectly condensed metal laws. They're flawless, indestructible, boundless, and sharp to the extreme. They're too terrifying. Even Wu Shujian was startled and widened his eyes. How can he be so strong? His laws are much more powerful than the inheritances from the ruins of deities. Deadwood Heavenly Monarch was even more alarmed. He let out a strange cry and wanted to break free from his physical body to escape. You can't escape. Stop him. Qin Shuang knew that Jiang Tian's speed was too fast, and there was no way he could escape. He gritted his teeth and stamped his feet. His eyes were filled with determination. His hands moved quickly, casting long frost sky again. Instantly, chains of laws, shields, weapons, and even fortresses formed by frost appeared out of thin air, spanning across 5 kilometers in the sky. But all of this was useless. At that moment, indescribably terrifying laws surged through the ancient demon abyss like a tide. The sun and moon reversed, the firmament crumbled, and everything within 1,000 miles trembled. It was as though a Kuan Peng had struck 3,000 miles, or as though an ancient god had split the chaos apart. Even though everyone was 100 miles away, they still felt that their bodies, divine souls and golden cores were about to be torn apart by Jiang Tian's laws of metal, endless blade auras and rolling blade chi. That feeling was like when the residents of Hiroshima faced the earth-shattering nuclear explosion. That energy was destructive and no one could resist or stop it. Swish. The sharp condensed saber of the law of gung metal, with the sacred air of immortality, cut through the chains of the law of ice, shields, and fortresses as easily as cutting tofu. Qin Shuang was cut in half in midair. Her nascent soul, which was only an inch long, crawled out of her head and screamed, trying to escape. But it was immediately minced into pieces by the rolling auras of the saber. Even the soul inside did not have the chance to escape. At the same time, Heavenly Lord Kumu had just come out of his Dharma form and turned into a black beam of light, flying as fast as lightning. There was a loud bang behind him. It was the sound of a 1,000-foot mountain and endless earth exploding, but Kumu didn't even look at it. After all, saving his life was more important. He sped up and flashed 1,000 miles away. He flashed among the flying rocks and flashed towards the entrance of the abyss like a black beam of light. But then an unparalleled devouring power came and he flew out uncontrollably. He couldn't get rid of it no matter what cultivation arts he used. He couldn't help but be terrified. What? He sensed the law of black hole? No, it's not a law. It's even the Great Way. Is he a soul formation cultivator? However, it was too late to say anything. He quickly fell into the black vortex of Jiang Tian's Taotai returning energy, and as if he was crushed by a millstone, he turned into fine powder, turning into the purest spiritual power, Zhen Yuan and essence qi, and was completely devoured. Then, Qin Shuang's endless cultivation, enormous Dharma power and essence blood were also devoured by Jiang Tian's vortex of Taotai. The sky was swept clean. There were mountains of corpses on the ground and blood was flowing like a sea of blood. Only Jiang Tian was left standing with his hands behind his back. His black robe was fluttering in the wind. The 10-foot divine plate behind him was rotating slowly. He was enveloped in the bright light of the divine plate, looking extremely sacred and lofty, as if a peerless god had come to the mortal world, looking down on the world. And under Jiang Tian's feet, there was a huge ravine about 30 miles long and more than a few miles wide. It was extremely deep and shocking. That was the result of Jiang Tian's slash. Chapter 1441. How is that possible? Heavenly Lord Kumu and Qin Shuang were defeated? When the dust settled, everyone could not believe what they had just seen. All of them were dumbstruck. Qin Shuang's grandson was so scared that he knelt on the ground with a plop. He was so scared that he was shivering. There was no longer any arrogance on his face. His face was full of panic. Even his worldview was shattered by Jiang Tian. Zhang Qingyang, perfected cultivator Red Tiger, and the other cultivators from Yingzhou, Baiming and Penglai were also astonished. They felt that the man in the sky wasn't human at all. Their ancestors had told them for generations that cultivators from the higher realms were not to be provoked. Their strength was great, and their orthodoxy was deep. They were like the true legends of deities. Heavenly Lord Kumu could even transform a nascent soul cultivator into a nascent soul cultivator. He was also the chancellor of the 100 Moon Academy. And yet, he couldn't even withstand one slash from Kang Taechu. Besides, Qin Shuang, the living fossil of the heavenly sect, was helping him. They were completely doubting their lives. Zhang Qingyang and Red Tiger were especially glad that they didn't offend Jiang Tian. Otherwise, they would have ended up in a miserable state. Glory to Senior Taichu. Only the two princesses, Ao Jiao and Qi Liqui, were so excited that they jumped up. They had already submitted to Jiang Tian, and respected Jiang Tian as their master. Of course, they didn't want to see Jiang Tian lose. Besides, the cultivators from the upper worlds were ruthless, and they regarded the cultivators from the lower worlds as ants. If Jiang Tian lost, Heavenly Lord Kumu would never let them go. On the other hand, Long Xingnan's face was very ugly. She turned green and white as she wailed in her heart. Since Jiang Taichu could even kill Qin Shuang and Chancellor Kumu, not many people would be able to save him. He won. Yao Yu Fairy's mouth was wide open, and her beautiful face was filled with shock as if she had seen a ghost. In her heart, she wanted to say that Brother Xu Jian had made a mistake. It was the first time that he had made a mistake. How is that possible? How terrifying. Wu Shujian himself was shocked to the extreme. He had already overestimated Jiang Tian's strength. He had been watching from the sidelines, not daring to make a move. However, it was only at this moment that he realized that what he saw of Jiang Tian's strength was only the tip of the iceberg. Jiang Tian's true strength was like an unfathomable abyss, like a towering mountain that could only be looked up at. Meanwhile, the rushing current valley shuddered violently as the power of formations rose into the sky. Various kinds of strange forces were multiplying rapidly. Rumble. The ground cracked open as if an ancient god had opened his eyes. Hot energy gushed out and rays of light shot into the sky. Those rays of light were enough to kill a golden core cultivator easily. Only nascent soul cultivators and nascent soul cultivators could barely resist it, but even their skin felt like it was about to crack. Even their protective gales or the power of their Dharma treasures couldn't withstand it. The Golden Crow's treasure is about to open. Everyone cried out in alarm. Their eyes were filled with fear and greed. They wanted to avoid the danger, but they also wanted to enter and explore. Whoosh! Jiang Tian's robe fluttered in the wind as he performed the art of the sea-calming ice god body. Waves of coldness enveloped 10 miles and blocked the heat. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's treasure is a small grotto heaven. There are also many man-made marks in this small grotto heaven. Maybe he really has reached the soul formation level. At the same time, Jiang Tian's immortal will went into the cracks in the rushing current valley, and found that there was another grotto heaven inside. When Jiang Tian scanned it with his immortal will, he was a bit shocked. The small grotto heaven wasn't big, it was only 100 miles wide. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor was indeed an ancient overlord who could compete with Ao Huang and Wu Chang. He had found a dimensional space and built a dimensional passage to build his own grotto heaven. He was indeed quite capable. Jiang Tian's spiritual consciousness clearly sensed that there were layers of restrictions operating in the Golden Crow Ancient Sovereign's small grotto heaven. Many arrays remained and were connected to the small grotto heaven. It was filled with killing intent and was extremely powerful. Even after tens of thousands of years, those ancient arrays and restrictive spells were still running, and were as powerful as before. Even nascent soul cultivators would be in danger if they entered. Many terrifying energies were hiding, twisting and clashing in the grotto heaven. It was impossible to guard against them. My friend, do you want to compete with me for this treasure? Jiang Tian didn't panic. He looked at Wu Shujian and asked softly, "You must be kidding, Taichu. Fellow Taoist, you have unfathomable abilities. How would I dare to compete with you?" Wu Shujian bowed and didn't dare to put on airs. He was very humble. Even Yao Yu Fairy was shocked by this scene. Wu Shujian was so arrogant that he could even talk to Qing Aojuan, who was ranked first on the God of War roll. And yet, he was bowing down to Kang Taechu at this moment. However, Wu Shujian knew that the overlords ranked in the top 20 on the God of War roll, and the heavenly sects and families behind them couldn't do anything to Jiang Tian. Then he changed the topic and said patiently, "But Taichu, you should know that the Golden Crow's treasure is very dangerous. Legend has it that many nascent soul heavenly lords have died here. I'm willing to explore with you, Taichu. At least we can take care of each other. Taichu, you can decide how to distribute the resources and treasures we get. Good. You're quite sensible, Jiang Tian said. Speed is the most important thing in this exploration. Ta Kong, you just wait outside. Xu Jian and I will go in together. Understood. Ta Kong and the others glanced at Fairy Yao Yu and smiled meaningfully. Jiang Tian's meaning was obvious. Yao Yu Fairy would stay outside as a hostage, and Wu Shujian would go in with him. If he dared to do anything, his woman would die. Wu Shujian understood this as well, but both he and Fairy Yao Yu were calm. Soon Jiang Tian and Wu Shujian turned into two streams of light, and shot into the big crack at lightning speed to explore the Golden Crow's treasure. Boom boom boom. Light burst out and colorful lights bloomed. The crack slowly closed as if an ancient god had closed his eyes. It was as if it had never been there. The place gradually became peaceful again. Many cultivators left the valley of Tang under Long Pejuan's lead and rushed out of the ancient demon abyss. The truth about what had happened in the abyss quickly spread. Within Blackrock City, the tens of thousands of cultivators who had been waiting for this moment began to boil with excitement. Kong Taichu killed Elder Deadwood of the 100 Moon Academy, and Qin Shuang of the Heavenly Sect of the Halon World. Master Void of the Prunglai World and many other peerless overlords have died. When the news spread, the entire Halon world was shocked. It was like a heavy bomb that made people dizzy. Many people were stunned and couldn't believe it. God bless Taichu Heaven Lord. God bless Ingzhou World. Taichu Heaven Lord. Invincible. Qi Jiui was stunned at first, but then he was overjoyed. Then he led the princes and princesses to prostrate and worship the heavens. Even. This news spread to the ruins of immortality and to the 100 Moon Academy. In an instant, the news spread throughout 100 Moon Academy, Ruins Emperor Palace, Sky Palace, and countless immortal cultivation families and sections. When everyone heard about it, they were shocked. At this moment, Jiang Tian's name shook the ruins of immortality. Chapter 1442. Chancellor Kumu has been killed. Almost in the same moment that Chancellor Deadwood was killed by Jiang Tian, the news spread throughout the continent of the ruins of immortality, in an academy built on a mountain, surrounded by flowing spirit springs and a waterfall of essence energy. It was as if one was looking down from the sky. One would find that the planet was like a sun, floating in the depths of the universe. Dense astral qi surrounded it like a waterfall. The rumbling Tao laws even condensed and turned into dragons and phoenixes. There were sounds of heavenly music echoing on it. It was a planet, but it was still so bright and dazzling that it even covered the stars next to it. In terms of area, it was 1,000 or 10,000 times the size of Earth. One could feel the surging spirit qi on it even across the endless starry sky. The spirit qi on the planet was too rich. It was at least 100 times denser than in worlds like Dragon Gate and Ingzhou. Besides, there were ancient immortal palaces and temples floating on the continent. Under the clouds, it looked like an ancient heavenly court. In fact, it was the heavenly court in Huaxia's myths and legends. The ancient immortal land had migrated to the South Gate 2-star system tens of thousands of years ago, and was colonized by the South Gate galaxy, becoming the territory of the Ruins Emperor. Although Chancellor Kumu no longer held any position in the 100 Moons Academy, any chancellor, even if they had abdicated, would still be highly valued by the 100 Moons Academy and would be treated as a valuable asset. Many of the living chancellors left a copy of their life spirit tablets in 100 Moon Academy that were connected to their divine souls. Those life spirit tablets were made with high standards. Even if the chancellors traveled through worlds and were billions of miles away, they could still sense it. There were people monitoring them, but the tablets had never been extinguished for many years. After all, the chancellors were too powerful. They were the elites of the ruins of immortality, and the many level 2 worlds. Their cultivation levels were above the nascent soul realm, and there was no lack of soul formation realm overlords. Their strength was one thing, but the other was the golden name of 100 Moon Academy. It could be said that no one would dare to provoke anyone, let alone a chancellor, an outer sect servant or a cook, as long as they mentioned the name of 100 Moon Academy. Who's so bold? He was a chancellor, personally appointed by His Majesty, the Ruins Emperor. Besides, he's a veteran nascent soul cultivator, and is not far from the soul formation realm. Who can be his opponent? However, this time, Chancellor Ku Mu was actually killed. This was simply the first time something like this had happened, and it shook the entire 100 Moons Academy. Even the dean was alarmed and demanded a thorough investigation. Did Chancellor Withered Tree drink too much? The Ingzhou world is a remote and desolate place. Why would I go there? A cultivator sneered. I heard that they are looking for the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's treasure. Someone added, Tithe. It's a treasure left behind by a divine transformation realm cultivator. Besides, it's been 10,000 years. It's nothing. Everyone's eyes were filled with disdain. Chancellor Ku Mu flaunted his prowess outside, and had his eyes at the top of his head. However, among the many chancellors, he really didn't stand out, and was even at the bottom. We have extracted the scene of Chancellor Ku Mu's death. He died in the hands of a lower realm cultivator called Kong Te-Chu, in the Ingzhou world. In the end, when everyone was discussing animatedly, the person in charge of monitoring brought out the scene that Chancellor Withered Tree had seen before he died. Kong Te-Chu? Who was it? Are they from the 6 Great Grotto Heavens? Someone was confused. In the ruins of Deity, the Ruins Emperor's Palace, Sky Palace, 100 Moon Academy and the Golden Crow Guards were the direct descendants of the Ruins Emperor. They were the most loyal and powerful. However, the Ruins of Deity was vast and was a bright cultivation planet. It was beyond their reach. So apart from them, the Ruins Emperor had also nurtured the 6 Great Grotto Heavens to suppress the major territories. The sects and families in those Grotto Heavens had once followed the Ruins Emperor to open up new territories. They had even experienced the battle with the Wanderers of the Deity Ground. Their status was extremely respected, second only to the royal family. The city lords and other sects had to admit defeat. The 6 Great Grotto Heavens have already announced that this matter has nothing to do with them. An elder said, something happened in the Ingzhou world. This small place should belong to the Billow world. More specifically, it's under the jurisdiction of the Dragon Gate. A major cultivator suggested casually, why don't we call Long Baxiao over and ask him about it? If he can't figure out where he is, just kill him. There's news that Long Baxiao of the Dragon Gate of the Billow world has already entered the Ruins Emperor's palace to meet His Majesty. It's said that it has something to do with Kong Te-Chu. Someone said, after the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, news after news spread out, shaking the entire ruins of immortality. It was as if the earth had been broken, and the sky had been broken. Kong Te-Chu is a human from Earth. He has crossed the galaxy to come here. The worlds under the Billow world have fallen. The nascent soul of Jade Lake has been wiped out. Kong Te-Chu is less than 30 years old, and he has already surpassed the nascent soul level. The legend of a pregnant deity on Earth might be true. The Ruins Emperor's palace is furious. It's said that the Sword God has been alerted and thinks that Long Baxiao is incompetent. The Ruins Emperor's palace has ordered the White Python Guards to go to the Billow world, the Ingzhou world and other worlds to destroy the Dragon Gate, and kill all of Long Baxiao's descendants as punishment. They've also asked all the heavenly sects and families in the Billow world to search the world and capture Kong Te-Chu. Tisk Tsk. Even the White Python Guards, one of the 9 guards of the Ruins Emperor, has been mobilized. Kong Te-Chu is probably dead this time. I'm afraid that's only the forces on the surface. Who knows how many scouts they've sent in the dark? Some people were shocked, some gloated, some were happy and some were eager to try. Kong Te-Chu had surpassed the nascent soul level at such a young age, and could even kill Chancellor Ku Mu. That had never happened in the entire Ruins of Deity. There's an opportunity to become an immortal on that barren earth. It might be true. Everything will be revealed when we capture Kong Te-Chu. Countless Grotto Heavens, families and sects were looking forward to it. They were paying close attention to it. If there really was an opportunity to become an immortal, they would immediately go to the ancient earth at all costs. Prince Chiu Ming's residence in the Ruins Emperor's palace. A man in a white robe carrying a long sword on his back stood in front of the majestic palace. Even the solemn palace couldn't contain his aura. His aura shot to the sky and his straight back was like a sword. Anyone who saw him would feel a chill down their spine. The golden armored guards around him looked at him with extreme admiration, as if they were looking at a god. Sword God. He was the #1 expert of the Ruins Emperor's palace. He was at the Soul Formation realm, and could connect the heavens with a single strike. He had once subdued the 6 grotto heavens with a single strike. Without the Ruins Emperor, there were only a handful of people who could match him. Master. Prince Qiuming had a heavy expression as he walked behind Sword God and bowed respectfully. He was the 18th generation grandson of the Ruins Emperor, and was known as a prince. He had already entered the mid-stage nascent soul realm, and enjoyed a revered status in the Ruins Emperor's palace. He ruled over the various worlds. The Ruins Emperor had a lifespan of tens of thousands of years. Even though he was at the Soul Formation realm, he could not withstand the cruel passage of time. As time passed, his blood coagulated and his lifespan stopped, causing him to fall into a deep slumber. Now the Emperor was his 8th generation grandson, Emperor Yishur. The Ruins Emperor had already spread his family and had many children. Furthermore, they were all cultivators and had long lifespans. It was a wonder that 18 generations could discuss politics together. There were countless generations of princes and imperial descendants in the Ruins Emperor's palace, numbering in the hundreds. They were all vying for power in a bid to inherit the throne. For Prince Qiuming to be able to take the lead and obtain the right to rule over the various worlds was naturally no trifling matter. But even so, he did not dare slight Sword God in the slightest. If you fail to kill Kong Teichu and quell the lower realm's rebellion this time, you will be sentenced to death. You will probably be executed. Sword God said coldly, each word sharp. Chapter 1443. Yes, I understand. Prince Qiuming had a solemn expression. There were only a few outstanding princes. Each of them was in charge of military affairs, internal affairs, education, and so on. For example, Prince Xiahe was in charge of Sky Palace. He was in charge of observing and developing the outer realm. Chancellor Withered Tree, the Chancellor of 100 Moon Academy, was killed by a lower world cultivator. He's truly useless. Bestow him with wealth and a posthumous title, but immediately remove his lineage from the academy and banish him to the western desert world. Sword God said plainly. His every move seemed to be in harmony with the great Tao, and had a hint of natural charm. Soul Formation Grand Cultivators had already surpassed the laws, touched the great Tao, and controlled the great Tao fragments. This was perfectly reflected in Sword God. It was frightening. I understand. I believe 100 Moon Academy will also listen to you. Prince Qiuming said with a bow. Prince Qiuming knew Sword God's personality very well. Not to mention that Heavenly Lord Withered Tree was a cultivator selected from the lower world. Even if he had the true bloodline of the Ruins Emperor, he would be considered useless if he failed. Although Heavenly Lord Withered Tree is useless and has been stuck in the late-stage nascent soul realm for hundreds of years, he is still the Chancellor of Ruins Emperor's palace. Killing him is equivalent to offending the Ruins Emperor's palace. If we don't kill him, where will our dignity be? Moreover, this kid is involved in the secret of Earth's immortal pregnancy. If we can know the truth, we will have the upper hand. Therefore I'll order the Golden Crow Guards, White Python Guards, and Dark Crow Guards to search the entire Hylon world. If we can't find Kong Teichu, the leaders of the 3 guards will bring their heads to me. After saying that, Sword God waved his sleeves. The great Tao rumbled as he tore through space and left. Prince Qiuming gasped when he heard that. He bowed deeply in the direction Sword God left. Yes, master. When he raised his head, there was already a trace of astonishment in his eyes. It seemed like the White Python Guards were just a cover. The real trump card was the leader of the 9 guards, the Golden Crow Guards with the strongest combat power, and the Dark Crow Guards, who were proficient in assassination. These 3 guards were the divine armies of the Ruins Emperor. Each of them had the ability to destroy a level 2 world. Now that they were all deployed, even the Yingzhou world. This Kong Teichu is actually so respected by the sword god. Prince Qiukong exclaimed meaningfully. While all the large family clans and sects in the ruins of immortality, as well as Hundred Moons Academy and Ruins Emperor Palace, were alarmed, Jiang Tian and Wu Shujian were strolling through the Golden Crow's treasure. This was an ancient bronze palace. Its surface was mottled with copper rust, and it was filled with the aura of time. Some places had already collapsed. Even the dojo of a soul formation expert could not withstand the vicissitudes of time. The bronze palace was built by the Golden Crow ancient sovereign with all his might. He killed the Ao sovereign, Ao Wuchang, and replaced him as the demon monarch. This was his palace, and there would be countless living beings worshipping him. However, he did not succeed and was killed by Ao Wui's absolute heaven sword. Even when he was about to die, he still wanted to escape to his own palace. He probably still wanted to be the emperor even if he died. Jiang Tian couldn't help but sigh. Cultivators were very interesting. It was human and interesting. The Golden Crow ancient emperor was already in the soul formation realm and had a lifespan of 10,000 years. It was not enough for him to control the life and death of others. He still wanted to be the emperor. It was hard to get rid of the temptation of power. Swish, swish, swish. Jiang Tian flew straight into the depths of the palace like a fleeting shadow. The scenery around him was constantly changing. There was wind, thunder, earth, fire, the ice of the nine hells, and illusions of demons. Even space was in disorder, folding, twisting, and cutting. Every step was filled with killing intent, and it was extremely dangerous. Earth, fire, thunder array, nine hell, ice seal, mental demon illusion array. Jiang Tian said the name softly. He looked very calm. Every step he took was precise and ingenious. He had cultivated for 10,000 years in his previous life, and he was like an encyclopedia. He could see the loopholes of those arrays at a glance. And Wu Shujian was scared out of his wits. He was in dire straits, battered and exhausted. Those arrays were very high level and could easily kill nascent soul cultivators. Twice, he was almost killed by the formation, and one of his arms was almost chopped off. The wandering cultivators of the ancient earth are really extraordinary. What a terrifying array! Wu Shujian exclaimed. Even in the ruins of immortality, these formations and restrictions were rare. And they were all done by the ancient emperor of the Golden Crows. The ancient emperor of the Golden Crows wasn't a real king of monsters. He only called himself that. He wanted to go against Ao Wuchang, but he was killed in the end. This kid is even proficient in arrays. Follow him. That's right. Wu Shujian saw that Jiang Tian flew forward like a butterfly and didn't touch any arrays. He was envious and then quickly followed Jiang Tian. The divine powers of the ancient earth sages were still a bit behind. They weren't really developed. These formations are very crude. They've long been abandoned in the central galaxy. Jiang Tian shook his head. It wasn't that he had forgotten his ancestors, but that the cultivation civilization was also a process of development. It was like when you lived through the age of engines and then looked at animals pulling carts. You would naturally feel backward. Suddenly, Jiang Tian arrived above the core of the palaces. He performed the astral steps and calculated with his fingers. Finally, he found the core of the arrays and arrays. Jiang Tian stomped his feet and shouted, "Open! Go! Rumble!" The entire group of bronze palaces shook. Then the power of the arrays, the wind, thunder, earth, fire, ice and even illusions disappeared. A vast palace appeared in the surroundings. 49 thick flame pillars stood in great numbers. In the middle of the palace, an old man wearing a golden crown and a golden crow yellow robe sat cross-legged. The old man was emitting a bright aura and his skin seemed to be made of gold. His hair was red and even his eyebrows were red, like angry flames. He emanated a scorching hot aura that even Wu Shujian, a nascent soul genius, couldn't handle. His skin felt like it was about to crack, and his mouth went dry. The old man's eyes were closed and his chest was still moving up and down. He was still breathing and there were 2 flames in his nostrils, as if he were just sleeping. The ancient emperor of the Golden Crows. He was the master of the entire grotto heaven. But on his chest, There was a sword mark that had been slashed across his entire body. Even after countless years, the indestructible energy spread open his body and left an inch of space between the two halves of the Golden Crow ancient emperor's body. So many treasures. Wuxia glanced around and was envious. Then the Golden Crow ancient emperor suddenly opened his eyes and yelled, "Heavenly sword! Who exactly are you to the tyrant Wuchang?" Crack. Wu Shujian was so scared that he fell to the ground like a toad. Is the Golden Crow ancient emperor still alive? He's a real soul formation grand cultivator. This was a great terror. Wu Shujian was so scared that he was trembling. His heart was filled with fear and anguish. He was also filled with endless regret. He should not have come in just now. Who could stop a soul formation cultivator? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.